start this up again. Why did it show me like 7 people on? Yeah, if that's the case, I might just have to end the stream today, just because I might actually have to do some fucking issue like correction. So at this point, I might as well just like raid someone. It's a bit annoying. I actually wanted to do a decently long stream today, but it seems that I might just have to do some fucking account maintenance now. So let me raid a channel. This is annoyingly scuffed. Let's see. If that is the case, let us go to... Is X count on by any chance? Rana's on... let's see. Funny enough, Mama Oko is on, right? Which is the very person we were just fucking watching. That's not what I meant to do. I was also going to react to this, but, you know, again, okay. Stream popped back up. I mean, I get that, but I still can't get any contact from, like, the actual YouTube account, I don't think. Hold on, let me check something. If that's the case, if this actually works, then, you know, it'll be fine, but if it doesn't, then I'm going to have to figure out what's going on. Yep, I'm going to have to figure out what's going... Well, hold on, actually. There's a way to test this. Why did... Okay. Okay. So it does... Okay, so YouTube's... Okay, the YouTube thing is working. Okay, I don't have to fucking end stream now to actually fix that problem, because it seems the problem has been fixed until the problem is not fixed, in which case I'm gonna have to tell you I'm gonna have to tell YouTube to go fuck themselves, because my god, this is way more frustrating than it needed to be. Okay, where were we? Back to the subject matter of the day, right? Since now I don't have to like deal with that. All right. So let's get back to this.
Speaking of which, does anybody remember when Netflix used to be $10 a month every single month for a long time? Now it goes for $26 a month for premium individuals, and you can only have a couple people on there. Otherwise, you have to pay more for other individuals to watch.
I'd just say, honestly, at that point, just don't tell them you have any extra individuals, right? But also, at the same time, yeah, your dollar is literally worth less than it used to be, right? Every year, your dollar is devalued. So the value of the thing that you have worked for, you know, is a thing. SpartanBot says Kick seems to be way behind too. It's just now catching up to where you were when YouTube stream popped back up. Yeah, that's fair. It was a bit of a clusterfuck today, to be perfectly honest.
Has the enshittification of our world really gotten this bad?
It is worse than you can imagine, Mama Oko. There are other things that are also really bad.
Well, with all that in mind, the topic that I wanted to talk about today, that being home labbing, is something that I think that a lot of people should consider, and something that I think that at the very least, if you own some kind of computer or smart devices in your home, you should consider learning just a little bit of. But what is home labbing, and why do I think that you need to pay attention to it? Well, home labbing can be basically anything you want when it comes to assembling a little place for you to work on your infrastructure inside your own very home. It can be as little as having a laptop or two that speak to each other that store your videos and media, or it can be as expansive as multi-rack servers that have all of your data and information stored down, along with multiple different pieces and things put together that allow you to experiment, put things together, and potentially even host businesses if you're feeling that savvy.
Yeah, I mean, to be fair, there's different, like, things you could home lab for. Like, a business home labbing is going to do something, need different requirements than, like, just a family home labbing or an individual hobbyist home labbing, right? There's all kinds of reasons you can home lab, and like they're not going to be universal. There's going to be different things. Like a gaming, like a club of gamers is going to need different specs for home labbing than, again, just let's say like a just a family. Twitch and Kick way behind. YouTube seems to be fairly current. Sorry about that. But yeah, no, I'm just having scuff, and it's going to take way too long to figure out what's going on for right now. So I'm going to have to figure that out later. See, because there was 7 when the stream effed up. There was 7 when the stream effed up, and then you know, shit happened, right? Oh man.
Today, I would like to talk a little bit about home labbing, my journey and experience in home labbing, and some recommendations for people if they are interested in getting into the medium itself. I will say that if you are looking to get into this, it can be a little expensive.
I mean, especially with right now with the increased price of, again, RAM and certain computer parts. But you know, bubbles eventually pop, and it will eventually go down in price
if you don't pace yourself and make sure that you start off slow. So before you go out and do what I did, that being buying a bunch of Raspberry Pis to experiment with, I think at the very least you should figure out what your journey should be before you start on it. So,
and this is really good advice for anything that you're going to do, right? If you're going to do, for example, if you're going to do like a YouTube, if you're going to do art, if you're going to do the career path, if you're going to do home labbing, if you want to make your own website, you kind of need to have this part figured out before you actually start committing money to it, right? Because you actually have to have a plan to move forward, because even if that plan doesn't work, you at least have a foundational springboard to transition it into something else that could work based using the work you've already put into it, right? So this is just like general, really good advice about like how to conduct yourself with regards to like any kind of venture that's going to require money, time, and effort. Oh, excuse me. Let's see. I think I'll stay on Twitch for now. Had to tell Gran no on getting Netflix. Yeah. I definitely don't have Netflix. Like I don't watch anything on Netflix. I don't pay for anything on Netflix. There's very few things that like Netflix actually has that's even remotely interesting. But then again, I also don't watch a lot of live action TV anyway. So it's like the only thing that would be interesting to me is like the cartoons and the anime. But the thing is I already have a huge anime collection of my own, right? So it's like if I really wanted to watch a particular anime, unless it was like a Netflix exclusive, I could literally just pirate the anime, be like, ooh, that's actually pretty nice, and then buy a physical copy, right? Almost every physical copy of an anime DVD set that I have is because I pirated it first, saw it, and it was like, I like this. It makes the dopamine receptors in my brain go burr, and then I bought a physical copy, right? Funny enough, that's a very consistent thing among pirates. Pirates are some of the most like willing to actually buy the content people out there. They just actually have to like the content, right? Let's see. Kiddock says RAM and storage are abused or absurd right now. Glad I have semi-recent hardware for stuff. I mean, that's fair. Would love to build a new NAS, but I'll have to wait until prices are at least somewhat reasonable. Again, they will be reasonable. This market is very much inflated. It is a bubble, and the bubble will burst, and then things will go back to a reasonable price. It just takes time. Remember, this happened with tulips at one point. Historically speaking, there was a tulip bubble, and that busted as well. So it's like all bubbles eventually burst.
So make a list. Decide what you want to get rid of in the online sphere. It may be as simple as wanting to back up all of your home media onto one simple place that you can access without having to pay for a cloud service on a monthly basis. It could also be as in-depth as saving all of your music, your movies, or even really important files for things that you do at work.
Or not even that. Like you want to save photos of like your family. Google now has that AI, right? So it's like, oh, you got baby pictures of you got like baby pictures, like the old school days, right? Of like kids and they're like, like when they're really young and they're taking a bath. Google AI scours your photographs and it's like, aha, violation of our policy. Your entire account is gone. This has apparently happened to a couple people. But like again, they can't really do that to you if it's just on your own server, right? Your own family photos go on your own family server. Like you want to keep access to your music. Well, it turns out that again, they can't really take access away from your games if you download all your games and you have a copy of all your games that you've made, and then they're stored on your own server, right? Same thing with your music, right? Every time I get a music CD, I end up like burning the CD, so it's like I have a digital copy of everything on the physical disc, and then I have it on my computer, right? And it's like, yeah, you could do the exact same thing with the server. You could just store anything that, again, you might lose access to if some dickhead running the server that you're outsourcing to decides to, again, be a bit, again, decides to be ridiculous. Let's see. Kinnock says, "Oh yeah, I'm more than happy to pay for anime and music, but I want to make sure I like it for exactly right. Literally, almost I can't think of a single person I know who pirates who doesn't actually buy quite a lot, right? But they buy when they can, and they buy what they like." Firestone Cabot says, "Which is most current?" Not entirely sure. Kianolo says, "YouTube is the most current version." Oh yeah, as far as stream goes, YouTube is the most current. Yeah, I can't fix it. I don't know what's going on there.
Or it could be as in-depth as hosting your own video game servers.
Yep.
Something that I'm slowly getting into right now.
And if Stop Killing Games actually functions as the way it's supposed to, well, then I guess, these people will be, people will start hosting games that have been discontinued by the main corporations on those, alternative servers, which is probably going to be better for everyone, to be perfectly honest.
The world is really just limitless when it comes to home labbing and the things that you can do with it. But where did my journey begin for this, and what are the goals that I have in mind when it comes to home labbing? Well, it started after a visit that I had with my good friend Temp in his home. I started to ask a bunch of different questions, such as what a network-attached storage was, and how to better back up my files so that I didn't have to worry in case, for some reason, a channel of mine went down in the future.
Yep.
That led, upon my returning home, to looking into the massive world of home labbing, researching what necessarily I might want, and slowly starting to buy my own equipment that I could use to host my own stuff.
This is another piece of advice that I think is actually really good. It is okay to actually take your time, right? You don't have to start and do everything all at once. It is entirely reasonable and preferable if you take your time. You try to research what it is you're trying. You don't understand what you're trying to do. You research in what you need to do the thing that you're trying to do, and then you do so at a pace you can actually sustain. Right? There are people who get a little bit impatient when they try to do their own projects. It's like, calm the fuck down, my guy. Right? Trying to rush to completion is often disastrous. But
the first stop on my journey was figuring out the cheapest and most cost-effective way to start my own home lab. That ended me up on the channel Hardware Haven, where he talked about these 10-inch mini racks, a small little invention in the home labbing world, where instead of having massive 19-inch server racks that host multiple racks of enterprise-level gear, you could instead start out with a tiny little 10-inch rack. A rack that could hold something as simple as your very own little router that you bought at the store, and other little things, such as a mini computer, or maybe even your own little network-attached storage. I was very quickly enamored with the aesthetic.
Oh, Kura, I actually didn't know you were here, because again, of all the fuck-ups, right? Kura says, alright, I gotta go attempt to stream, but glad shit got sorted out at Cosmic. Have a good stream. You too, man. You have a good stream. Yeah, hopefully the shit has been sorted out on this end. But hopefully you don't have any of the scuff I had just now.
That Hardware Haven came up with. Along with that, I also got into the deep hole of 3D printing, which is its own portion of my home labbing journey.
Hardware Haven is good stuff. I am gonna have to watch more of their material, to be perfectly honest. I do have to catch up with some of this myself, right? It's just I want more people to be able to. I want more people to even think about like getting involved in any of this stuff and catching up, because I do know a lot about some of these technologies, but not all of the ones that I need to know about. So like this is also like kind of a refresher for me too.
Upon learning about these racks from both Hardware Haven and another great channel, Jeff Geerling, I assembled my very first little 10-inch lab. And after some trial and error, a purchase of my very first Raspberry Pi, and asking companies if they could 3D print some enclosures for me, I ended up with something like this.
You know what's funny? Remember the video? Remember the video we were watching earlier about how 3D printing bad? Well, 3D printing is apparently useful for home labbing, right? Again, I can't get the stuff myself. Can you 3D print it, right? Ah, yes. It's almost as if 3D printing has the ability to actually, again, free us from the constraints of the dastardly corporation who relies too much on their patents instead of actually doing something, right?
This was my very first little home lab that I had produced. It was small, inexpensive, and allowed for me to take something that I already had, my TP-Link that you can see plugged in there, and experiment with things such as learning how the internet worked, learning how different cables connected, and learning about something magical called power over Ethernet. I'll explain a little bit more of that later. The rack itself was based on a design that was in Jeff Geerling's video on Home Labs, which I will make sure to link down in the description below. And while it never really served much of a practical purpose, such as storing all of my files to my Raspberry Pi, or even really hosting a web server.
I'm just gonna pause this here. Raspberry Pi is such a fucking charming name for this product, but yes. Kenox says, glad to help where I can. Ditto, man. I'm glad to help where I can as well. It's just, oh my god. This is definitely an area I'm not going to be able to help very much on, because I'm not too familiar with the subject matter. But the obvious benefit does not elude me, right?
It did teach me quite a lot about the home labbing world and what you could possibly do with everything on the inside. I will add as a note that while I enjoyed my time with the 10-inch rack that I am showcasing here, one thing that I did find myself very lacking in is proper wire organization.
As long as you're doing fine.
I needed to do down there, and as you can see,
oh yeah, it is a cute rack.
Definitely didn't do the best job. I'm sure other people could tell me how to do it better in the comments. After I had a basic understanding of what it meant to build your own home system, I decided after I made my move that I would expand my horizons and look for something slightly bigger. And by slightly bigger, I mean I bought a 19-inch rack and decided to get an enterprise level router. Well, not necessarily enterprise, but as close as it's going to be until I decide that I want to buy one. I eventually settled.
Again, you don't have to go immediately deep dive into the thing. You can start small, learn how it works, which is probably the most effective way to do that, and then expand from there as you get more knowledgeable. This will probably seem like common sense to a number of people, but I've also seen people literally try to jump into a subject in the deep end instead of learning how to swim in the shallow end themselves. This does happen more often than people would like to think.
On the Unify system for a lot of my networking. Some people in the home labbing world will definitely be familiar with Unify, as it is one of the most user-friendly experiences when it comes to the world of networking and user-attached storage, along with having quite the capabilities for things like camera and door access, and overall, I think it's a pretty good service.
I'm gonna definitely have to look into this as well, because like when it becomes actually viable for me to start home labbing, I would definitely like to be able to back up all of my physical media onto a digital, have a digital backup of it, because I have a lot of media, but I'd also have to get like a Blu-ray burner too, right? Because I would definitely like to be able to copy the things I literally bought physically onto a digital platform that I would have access to. That way, I would actually have access to the things I bought. Let's see. Cannot not me learning Linux years ago by jumping straight into CLI. I mean, fair enough, right? Some men are just built different, let's be fair, right? Some men are made of madness.
It offers quite the premium feel for not quite the premium price. By the way, this isn't sponsored by anybody, including Unify. However,
I'm gonna have to pause this here. It kind of surprises me how many people don't realize that, like, if you take a sponsor, you're legally obligated to state that you're taking a sponsor, right? I just have, apparently that's a thing that a lot of people just don't know, and it's like, I thought that was common sense, right? You can get into some real fucking trouble legally if you don't disclose that you're being, like, actually paid to support a particular product or service.
Unify, if you're watching, I'm available, and I will definitely take your money to shill your products.
And also that shit. I fucking love it when YouTubers are like that. It's like, oh, by the way, this product is not something... I'm actually not being sponsored by this product, but... but... throw some shekels my way, and I will spread the good word of this product I already believe in. I'm just saying, I respect the hustle. I actually quite like it when I hear a VTuber do something like this. I'm like, it sounds to me like they actually believe in the potential of this thing.
I started out simple by buying Unify's Dream Machine. The Dream Machine is multiple different things. It's a gateway for your Wi-Fi. It's a router, and it holds a drive bay so that you can attach cameras to it so that those cameras can then record straight to the system. And while you can buy your own NVR to do even more enhanced security, I do really like that with, at the very least, if you have only a need for like 8 cameras, you can hook up all of them to the Dream Machine and have it work so long as the cameras themselves have their own plugin. Following my foray into the Unify system of products, I went ahead and bought a couple of the other things that they have, such as this Power over Ethernet switch that allows me to connect things and have them powered just over the switch itself, as long as it has the capability.
I'm gonna pause this here. Fucking cyberpunk science fiction lied to me. I'm gonna go back for a moment. Right, back in the days of like science fiction with like the cyberpunk aesthetic, I was promised, right, that like the average man would have shit that looked like this, right? Yeah, oh my god, like I was promised shit like out of Serial Experiments Lane, right, and it just never materialized. And I'm like, so many promises made by God, I wish that were me. Let's see. It's worth noting you can do most of this stuff on an old workstation PC as well. That is true, you can. Not my piece of shit, though. Not my piece of shit. I am waiting for the day this thing inevitably just decides to commit seppuku, right?
Them powered just over the switch itself, as long as it has the capability. Currently, it powers my one camera that I have installed, overlooking the rack itself, and the 2 Raspberry Pis that I currently own. In addition, the Switch also gives internet access to both of my main computers that I use for streaming, and internet access for anything else that I may want to hook up, such as this small little NUC that I have here. The NUC is basically a tiny computer. It sits on a very tiny motherboard and has a lot of the same things that you would get in a normal big desktop computer slammed into one tiny little thing. These things are normally seen in office situations where you don't need a very powerful computer. However, it still allows for quite a lot of things to be done on it.
I mean, to be fair, just look at the computers that actually were used to land men on the moon, right? It's like, oh shit, there's more processing power in my phone than there is in that. Okay, there's a lot of things you can do, right? With even a small computer. Not everything has to be the same degree of processing power. And yes, Kiddock, let's all love Lane. Oh my god, I gotta get some of them. I gotta get some of the people in the community to watch Serial Experiments Lane. It is such a fucking trip.
Mine is a bit of an older model. However, with a clean install of Ubuntu, something that I had to look up on the internet.
what the fuck is the fascination with the word Ubuntu, right? I mean, it's not Ubuntu. Maybe the pronunciation of the company is Ubuntu, right? But like the word is actually pronounced Ubuntu. But I digress. It's like I don't understand what the word, what the fascination for this word is. I get it. It's like the Zulu word for humanity, right? In the sense of like both humanity as like a species and as like an abstract principle. But I'm not, because like I bring this up because it's like I got to do the reaction to that Sigrid and Bird video, making cola video, because they were making Ubuntu cola, and fucking apparently it wasn't an open source cola, and it's like, open source cola is the funniest phrase I think I've ever heard come out of a copyright conversation in my life. What the fuck is this? I am a little curious as to why like some people have a fascination with the word Ubuntu, though.
I was able to spin up a Minecraft server, something else I also had to look up on the internet. Along with that, it got me in.
Ubuntu is just the most popular distro for people first getting into Linux. I mean, I know that. That's another example. But I was like pointing out, is like, it's not just in computers, right? It's also used, for example, in some ethical discourse for post-colonialists. Ubuntu is a thing that pops up. Again, I already mentioned the thing with like Ubuntu Cola. It's just the thing that pops up on occasion. And I'm like, why does this keep popping up? Maybe it's just in the specific area that I'm in, and like that I normally do reading in. That might just be like a selection bias on my part. But it's like it's just I don't really understand the fascination with this particular word.
Into the world of Linux, along with my 2 little Raspberry Pis. And while I don't have very many practical uses for both of them, they have been a place for me to learn about things, such as the Linux operating system and how to do basic programming. And if you're curious if the Minecraft server itself actually works, it does. Here's some footage of it right now for you if you're curious. Besides the brush panel that I use for organization.
So, oh my god. So why did you make a? So what game do you have on your servers? What's the primary dedication for your servers? It's like Age of Empires 2, right? Oh my god, I have so much fun with I'm not very good. My map generation is actually fucking schizophrenic, to be perfectly honest, right? Because I actually learned how to expand maps beyond their size in Age of Empires, and so the AI can't really generate a full-size map for that, so I end up just like extending the map in like the most schizophrenic way possible. But yeah, I could totally see that. Like someone just has like a fucking gaming server, and like it's composed entirely of fucking not Minecraft, but like Age of Empires 2 of all things. Because I will say, I think Age of Empires 2 is the most fun of the Age of Empires games, at least, right? Let's see. Guessing it's your circle, but I've not heard it outside the distro. That might be fair, right? Let's see. Keil says, I've been on a drawing kick all day, so I won't be talking too much today. Excellent, right? Again, like I want to promote people to again, like, get into the arts if they can, right? Not just the AI stuff. If you want to get into AI art, that's fine. I'm gonna promote that as well. But like again, if you're doing the physical drawing stuff as well, I'm gonna suggest people get into that as well, even if it's just for their own personal endeavors, right? Because again, turns out art is actually good for you. So I'm glad to hear that you're back into drawing, man. Right?
Or the patch panel that I use to make this rack look very squeaky clean and nice. The only other thing that's worthy of showing off on this is the network attached storage that I have below. This is again another Unify product, and it stores up to 7 different drives, either 3.5 or 2.5, and allows for me to do all of the backing up of my major important files or all of my live streams, just in case I need another place to store them. Now,
you can't lose the media if you haven't backed up multiple times, right? Never played Age of Empires? I thought it was pretty fun. It's one of those real-time strategy games. It's a war simulator, basically. But it's like a top-down war simulator, so it's like you're moving troops and coordinating civilization development.
There's quite a lot of stuff there, and I'm sure that if I just focused on the networking aspect of everything, I could spend multiple months or even years learning a lot of information that already exists with the current system that.
Actually, you could probably, if you did this stuff, and especially again if you had like the stop killing games movement, you actually could probably turn a lot of shovelware into actually playable, right? You actually could probably use a server that was like home labbed to again run the base game, and then have that base game be translated into a format that would actually be usable by another computer. And I bring this up because it was one game that as a child I actually had a lot of fun playing, and it was the Star Wars game where the goal was just to like host a stable ecosystem, right? I don't remember what the name of the game was because it was a long time ago. And functionally, right now, it's a shovelware game. So it's like even if you have the physical game, it wouldn't run on, for example, modern, most modern computers. So it's pragmatically shovelware. You could probably most likely get it to run with Windows, with like any of the stuff, Linux, not Windows. If you ran a virtual computer on it. But it was a fun game, and it's like I could totally see people making a home lab, like a computer specially made to run these games, and then have it be accessible through the server. Kilnell says, never been good with tactic games. I mean, to be fair, the AI is quite exploitable in Age of Empires. It is an older game. Canuck says, 3, 2, 1 rule. So 3+ copies, 2 types of media, 1 offsite. That's fair. That does also take a bit of coin though sometimes.
We have on the internet. All of that to now go back to my original point. The reason why.
What about really old games like from Windows 95? A lot of those games are shovelware. They just won't play on a modern computer. Not all of them, obviously. Some of them end up getting like updated versions of the game to play on later hardware. But a lot of older games are just shovelware. They have to be basically translated into the new operating systems in order to be played.
I've started home lab.
Right. Kenok says you can find a surprising amount of older games on GOG. I'll have to check that out.
Is because I have further and further degraded trust in the world that we have when it comes to the different services that offer us the internet.
Oh yeah, no. Mama Oko is entirely right about this. Especially with again, everything is centralized. And the European Union wants to impose laws on the internet. And by the way, they're doing this partly to change the behavior of American companies, right? Because they know they can coerce American changes by bypassing Congress and the Senate by again imposing laws on American companies. And they know that can actually get them to impose changes on the United States extrajudicially. This is something that they do on purpose. This is not innocent. It is very nefarious. And I think that anytime Europe does something like this, America should put a 250% tax on all goods from Europe. But that's just me. Because I don't really like this game being played.
I remember a long time ago when the internet used to be multitudes of different web services that had their own little websites with their own little racks in their own little places. Now it seems that only 2 to 3 or even 4 different companies hold a majority of the world's stuff. That's not going to be the case for me. I'm not intent on paying multiple tens or even hundreds of dollars for each different service so that I can access a different media that might disappear one day, or store backup files that may become irrelevant if I'm no longer kosher to the services that want to house it.
Yep, or maybe deemed as problematic by the AI if you're hosting it on, for example, your Google Drive, right? It's like, oh yeah, I think the Google AI is like, oh yeah, I think this is this. It's like, but that's not at all what it is. How many times does Google fucking get... Oh, excuse me. Ooh. I didn't chew that correctly. Anyway, but it's like, how many times has the Google AI fucked up on like content on YouTube itself, and they think that like the AI is going to actually be able to monitor what's in people's emails? Absolutely not. Fuck off, right? Honestly, people should be using Proton Mail instead of Gmail if they can. I get that like Gmail is free, but it's like if you can, you should probably move to Proton Mail because it is a much more private, much safer mail service.
No, instead, I want to store all of these things on my own. I think it's going well already, however, I'm very hungry to learn more, and maybe eventually this could lead to a future where I become an IT expert and offer my services to companies that might need it.
It's also important to note that this doesn't have to necessarily be internet, right? This could also be setting up an intranet, like a closed system that doesn't actually connect to the outside system. That is also something that you can do if you would so choose to do it. And home labbing would be one of the things you would have to do in order to do that. Hello, Chicken Tender. Chicken Tender 19 says, Naboo something or other. Hold on, I had the game as well. I'll look it up. See, I knew I wasn't the only one. Proton has a free version too. That is true. Yes, I actually forgot about that. Hello, Joe Dirty 550. By the way, Joe Dirty is actually a really great name. I see what you did there. But yeah, it was Naboo something. I just don't remember what the name of the game itself was off the top of my head.
But that's my path on home labbing. It's definitely a journey, one that I have.
Because I got that game, I think there was also like when I got that game, there was also a Star Wars game which was pretty fun, but it was like a pod racing game. But I definitely preferred the environmental like simulation game more than the pod racing one.
Have to balance with my regular full-time job, live streaming, and everything else that I have going on. I don't even want to get into all of the fun I've had when it comes to things such as 3D printing.
Huzzah! 3D printing, as we discussed last video, right? Or last stream.
Something that has also become a fixation of mine ever since I've gone on this journey.
You know what? Actually, I'm thinking about it right now. I could, if I could get a friend of mine, if I could find the files, I could actually potentially have them print out an Aztec death whistle. That actually would be, because then I could actually sample the sound, and then I could use that sound inside a Suno song generation. It's all coming together. Pinnock says, intranet/blocking is a good way to keep all the IoT devices from harvesting your info, especially TVs. Yep. Ken says, oh my god, GOG has Dungeon Keeper. You know what, Kianella? Have at it, man. Have fun, man. Oh my goodness. I'm gonna have to check it out. Don't you have to log in a lot on free Proton? I mean, I'm pretty sure you can set it up to in such a way that like you don't have to log on all the time, right? I'm gonna have to look into that. Again, I understand I have to catch up with a lot of the stuff too, right? But that's why we're going through these videos, because Mama Oko knows more about home labbing than I do. I just know that home labbing is a really good investment, so I need to get caught up on it as well.
I can't tell you how satisfying it's been for me to print parts for my server rack itself. In fact, the Raspberry Pis that you see sitting on my rack shelf are sitting on pieces that I 3D printed myself.
Absolutely based, right? Remember, okay, so it's like in that 22-minute song I wrote, right? The one that I meant to be like just to take the piss out of people who said that AI music is gonna make everyone TikTok brain, right? I fucking leaned on DIY, do-it-yourself ethics the entire time, right? Because it turns out 3D printing actually does permit the rebirth of do-it-yourself ethic. That so is again AI generation. So does a lot of the other technologies that the mainstream art community and the mainstream culture likes to demonize. But that's because they demonize it because it actually removes their cultural power, right? It removes their stranglehold on cultural production.
The files might not be mine, and eventually I'd like...
Are you fucking kidding me? Hold on. I need to check something. It says my YouTube live stream has ended, but I'm still getting feedback from the thing. So I don't know what to do with that. I hate I don't know what the fuck's going on with I don't know what the fuck is going on with this.
Like to get into CADing my own stuff, but the fact that I'm able to go into my Bamboo lab, ask it to print something, and then I can use it for a practical situation in real life is actually pretty damn cool.
Yeah, you're
now,
literally making your own shit.
If you're interested yourself into jumping into home labbing, maybe you want to back up your files and you don't want to rely on cloud servers that charge you out the ass every single month in order to host. Or perhaps you want to save your family's moments. You want to save your movies that you rightfully bought and have access to, and you don't want them to one day disappear because of some IP rights holder. Whether it's
some IP rights holder or the fact that like DVDs are subject to rot.
Of these reasons, or perhaps you want to have better protection against the enshittification of the internet, my recommendation for you would be to get started in home labbing.
Maybe it means the first one. What the what? Were there two? Oh, I'm just having all kinds of scuff today.
Yourself. It can be as simple as learning how your own home router works, maybe even buying your own. Oh, wait. Well,
FCC router ban targets Chinese hackers. Something yours wasn't even made there. Oh.
Hopefully you can buy one that's made in the US. But start small. Learn how your technology and network works and expound on that. Find ways to protect you and your family, or just your...
A thought crosses my mind. It strikes me that, like, if we can get 3D metal printing, right? I mean, ghost gunning is one of those things that also would probably come from 3D metal printing, and I'm going to be honest. I look forward to the days of ghost gunners, right? But that being said, it strikes me that, like, if you had 3D metal printers, maybe you could also 3D print circuitry. It depends on how precise you could get the 3D printer, right? And how the 3D printer works. But maybe that would be actually a really good thing if, like, again, you could get a 3D printer and a 3D, like a plastic printer and a 3D metal printer, and then you could print the 3D, like, and you could, like, print the actual circuitry on the boards. I'm not sure how well that works, though. Because I know that, like, some of this shit is... No, you know what? That probably wouldn't work. It might work with some of the components, right? But not all of them. Like, because the transistors themselves are way too small. Because, like, again, like, angstrom scale is... Because we have to pay attention to things on the scale of angstroms there. So there's no way that you would ever get a 3D metal printer to actually be that precise. Let's see. Kianolo says, I know there are other emails where you have to log in a lot and to keep it open, or just use a burner but can reopen it by using the same name. Chicken Tender says, so Star Wars Episode 1, I had that game as well, and this Episode 1 Battle for Naboo, which was a great game. Flight sim game, and the other game you mentioned was Star Wars Pod Racers, literally just that, lol. Fair enough. Let's see. You already can. Oh, never mind. Maybe not, right? Believe there is a printer for circuits, at least single layer. Oh, shit. Never mind. I was wrong. Man's ingenuity far outpaces the ingenuity of me, to be perfectly honest, right? So, yeah, if we could actually get to a point where the ability to print circuits would be actually viable for an individual to actually buy a circuit printer, then, yeah, that would actually be just as much of a boon as a ghost gunner to be, 3D printer. Chicken Tender says, there's also a YouTube channel that is making AI anime of KOTOR 2 and Darth Bane. Okay, you know what? Fair enough. I'm going to have to check that out.
Yourself. In addition to that, see if you have old technology that you're not using anymore. I know a lot of people, myself included, have old laptops that get little to no use because we've upgraded our technology. Chances are...
Well, I mean, I have old laptops that just straight up stopped working. So, I mean, yeah, fair enough.
You're able to wipe that old laptop, or old computer perhaps, and use it for something in the future.
Naboo is the planet for the Gungans.
Maybe that old laptop doesn't really run that well when it comes to playing today's modern video games. However, if you need a media server to store and back up your files, you can put a clean hard drive on it and a fresh install of whatever operating system you choose and start storing all of your files on it. There are multiple different ways to do it, and I recommend that you do some research for it. Perhaps you really want to start up that Minecraft server that you're interested in, and all you've got is something old that, again, can't play video games the way you want, but still can give its processing power and its one core that Minecraft runs on in order to spin up a server.
Chicken Tender says, damn, the delay on Twitch is wild. Okay, you know what? Fair enough. It is unfair to the people on Twitch and Kick if that's the case. I'm gonna actually check to see if I can get the delay removed, because that's just wildly unfair if it's that bad. So hopefully by Monday, because I don't know if I'm gonna be able to have it done by Sunday, but hopefully by Monday I should have it fixed. But yeah, no, if it's that bad, I genuinely didn't know about that. I'll have to fix that.
It's actually quite crazy how little resources it takes to spin up a server these days, and I was quite surprised to see how well the NUC itself is able to work. Again, the footage I showed you earlier is footage of me playing the game with pretty good settings on and a pretty high frame rate. Now, granted, I will have to up the RAM in the future when the prices come down, crossing my fingers. But the point I'm trying to make is you can use...
Well, there's not really a need to cross your fingers. The RAM prices will go down. As much as I like AI art and AI LLM stuff, it is a bubble and it will eventually burst. But that will also probably be a good thing for the AI market, because then instead of investing too fast into into these things, it will almost certainly be the people who actually use this material to actually create something will be the ones to invest and innovate on it, right? So it might actually be more effective for the market if this bubble actually pops as well. Because a bubble pops doesn't mean it's going to go away, right? Look at the NFT market, right? NFTs are still sold. You can still actually sell NFTs for a significant bank, right? People still buy and trade them. But again, the bubble burst, so it's only the people who are actually interested in it that are actually now buying and selling it. And again, this happened with tulips, right? Back in the day, tulips also had a significant bubble that eventually popped. So it's none of this is all that surprising. Just because a bubble pops doesn't mean it's the end of the world. The video game industry had a bubble and it popped. The industry didn't die, right? Let's see. SpartanBot says Ewoks are Forest Moon of Endor. Yes. Kianalo says I have 2 old laptops. I have, I think, 3 of them. And yeah, they all went kaput. Chicken Tender says I'd love 3D metal printing. I'd be able to make so much shit for my house, right? 3D metal printing would be such a liberating thing, man, right? Especially if you could tailor it based on the metal. Because if you could get a 3D metal printer, for example, to work with, let's say, aluminum or work with copper, for different things, you could do so much for that.
Pretty much any old technology that you have lying around, as long as it turns on, and as long as it has an internet connection, you can start home labbing with just about anything. Hell, until I started actually home labbing,
I'm getting this through
building out
Telegraph.
my own network attached storage,
Fair
I
enough.
used my main computer to host all of my old files that I no longer had on the main hard drive. I had a couple of 2 terabyte disks that I had kept in there. Now, those disks themselves are safely stored inside my NAS, but for a while, my main computer was a pseudo main machine plus NAS server in its own right. It doesn't have to be that fancy. You don't have to spend as much money as I, or even maybe a lot of other people have, in order to make something that is your own. The goal of a home lab is to experiment, learn, and enjoy what you have in your hands. There's a lot of videos that exist by a lot of different content creators, some that I will show in just a moment, that you should check out if you're interested in learning this stuff for yourself. Now, when it comes to content creators that I recommend, I'm not going to recommend myself because I am such a young creator in this world. I'll start off with Hardware Haven. Hardware Haven was one of the first people that I discovered when it came to home labbing in general, and his videos are really good to listen to if you want somebody that knows how to have a little bit of a laugh at himself, along with talking about very obscure tech. In addition to talking about home labbing, 3D printing, and just overall networking stuff, he
God damn it, Kinley. Okay, that actually got me. Would this affect my carrier pigeons? Right, the EM waves from the EM, like the electromagnetic waves from the towers are affecting the flight patterns of my pigeons. They're also making me see bright colors when I dream. Right? Oh my god. Thank you for the link, Chicken Tender. I'll definitely give a look into that. I gotta see more about like what AI content creation is actually being done out there, because some of that shit is fucking actually keto.
likes to find obscure things on the internet, see if they can work as some kind of server, and show it off for people that are looking to make budget servers. I definitely recommend him as a jumping off point if you want to build something that doesn't require a lot of money. He's built servers out of things that are less than $100, so I definitely think that if he can build something that tiny with that little of a budget, we can all definitely do so as well.
Okay, I'm
The
definitely
next
getting
individual
this guy
I
to
will
check out.
recommend is Jeff Geerling. I look at Jeff Geerling as the Raspberry Pi guy, as a lot of his videos recently, if they're not talking about the dumb raising prices for RAM, he's talking about single board computers, such as the Raspberry Pi and the many different uses you can have for them. He's the guy that inspired me to start my NAS journey by building a Raspberry Pi NAS using a hat that I got off of the internet in order to network with the Raspberry Pi and turn it into a storage device. Now, while I will say that a Raspberry
Oh my god, he has the fucking Yippee.
Pi and turn it into a storage
Yeah, that thing in the background. I can't believe they have the fucking Yippee on there, right? Hold on. Chicken Tender 19 says, you can get it down to, I think, 15 seconds for the delay on Twitch. That the best they offered back in the day. I think they want to have that delay in case something happens. They can kill stream on their end, even though they never have, as far as I know. I mean, that would make sense. It's basically what they used to have. It's basically what they have for like news, news channels, right? You have that delay just in case something happens, and hopefully the guy on the, behind the, the kill switch is actually paying attention. Unlike one time when I had a friend of mine explain to me one time when they actually didn't work, and it was, yeah. So. One time when it didn't work, and like it was on the news apparently, and they were telling me about the guy who, like, he was being chased by cops, and then he ended up getting out of the car. There was nowhere to go, and he shot himself right there on the live, like on the news stream, and like apparently it shocked the guy with the in charge of actually turning off the stream quite a bit, because he actually shot himself. You saw it on the screen, and you could hear the news anchor be like, cut the camera, cut the feed, cut the feed, cut the feed. And yeah, it took a little while, and it was like, damn, that caught everyone off guard except for the fucking anchor, right? Yeah, so it's like, I don't know. Even when a organization does do that, sometimes things fall through the cracks, right? Kionala says, I don't know if I'll get into home labbing anytime soon, so I'll probably sell or give away my laptops. I mean, like, again, like, if you can't get into something for X, Y, or Z reason, that's fine, right? I'm just saying that, like, if it is an option, it is something that more people should invest into, right? Because again, it is an unacceptable state of affairs that like everything is currently controlled by AWS and Cloudflare, right? We need more shit on the Tor. We need more shit on, well, maybe not Freenet, because no one fucking uses Freenet. But I guess if you, unless you're like the one person who uses Freenet, in which case, you know, if you can get more people on Freenet, I guess that would be fine too. Federated systems, again, like Mastodon and all that stuff. So, okay, yeah, fair enough. But yeah, we need more people looking into these technologies so that we can actually help take away the power these large companies, which are backed by government funding, by the way, can actually get. Let's see. Robert Kinley said Bud Dwyer for real. God damn it.
device. Now, while I will say that a Raspberry Pi isn't the fastest thing when it comes to storage and transfer of your items, it was a good spot for me to learn just how this stuff works and get into the programming side of the Linux-based system. So I definitely recommend him if you're willing to spend some money on single-board computers or Raspberry Pis themselves and learn about how they work. Techno Tim is definitely the
I mean, to Mama Oko's point, right? It's like oftentimes when you're learning a new field, you start off with a simpler thing instead of the more complicated thing, right? And then oftentimes it's like the simpler thing is actually like simpler in the sense that, like, again, you're not really focusing on the higher end technical specifications. You're dealing with something that's, for lack of a better term, right, dumbed down. Like, we do this in mathematics, we do this in physics, where it's like we use a unrealistic situation in order to like teach the general principles, right? And this just seems like the computer science version of this, right? Use this thing. It's not the optimal way to do things, but it is a good way to just get in your foot into the subject matter, which again makes sense because. Again, you got to learn how to swim in the shallow end before you can go into the deep end. Robert Kinley says, "You will own nothing and be happy for a price, of course." yeah. You want to oppose, you will own nothing. Start home labbing. You want to oppose, you will own nothing. Again, start home genning, right? You want to oppose, you will own nothing. Start, again, investing in, cryptocurrency. Very specifically Monero, right? Not Ethereum. Ethereum has a lot of problems, but, like, you're going to go for one, like, I would suggest Monero. And I suggest Monero because it actually works and it's actually, like, security-minded. Just learn some basic OPSEC if you're going to use Monero. Hello, Long. we're talking about home labbing. You missed all the scuff earlier.
The guy that I would recommend if you want to learn about home labbing in its most extreme and most expensive form. Every single year, he releases a video on his home lab that he has, and every single time, it makes me wish I had about another $10,000 so that I could waste on building just as much as he does.
Don't we all wish we had another $10,000, right? Oh my god. yeah, I can see that. Like, Joe Dirty 550 says, "I usually do better if I'm just tossed in deep. Forces me to learn rather than procrastinating." That's fair. What are you creating? Right now we're just reacting to Mama Oko talking about home labbing. I'm just trying to convince more people to get invested in home labbing. That way the entire internet isn't propped up by two companies. Let's see. Kionado says, "Before you, I never heard of Monero." I mean, to be fair, not a lot of people talk about Monero. It is probably the best option for like a rise and for like an actual stable cryptocurrency, because it actually solves the issue of deflation in Bitcoin, and it also has a mechanism to counteract inflation built into it. So it does have real promise. It's probably going to be if cryptocurrency ever does become something that's widely used, that will probably be one of them, because it is just more stable than a lot of other cryptocurrencies. But the prices themselves are also subject to market demand, right? There are times in history where the American dollar is valued more. There's times in history when the American dollar is valued less. So it's like, again, cryptocurrencies are subject to the same value fluctuation based on supply and demand as, regular currency is. Let's see. Robert Kinley says, hey, learning we talk about learning, can't I just pay for a subscription service? Right? Fair. Chicken Ender says, damn, I kind of feel bad for the cameraman because he was probably stun locked.
He goes through a lot of different services and things that you can build with your home lab, and if you're willing to spend just a little bit of money, he shows a lot of the different things that you are capable of building with your home lab. I think my favorite videos are the ones where he shows all of the different services that he uses, not just off of the hardware side, but on the software side as well. The last guy I will share.
I just realized I'm not recording So I'm gonna have to fucking download this VOD in total to. Okay, I might actually be retarded, but fair enough. I can still get the episode out of the VOD. It's just that's not exactly how I wanted that to go. Fuck. That's just totally on me.
Shout out today is Network Chuck.
Have you ever seen Louis Rossmann? You sound like you'd probably like his. I actually do like Rossmann's content. I disagreed with his Clippy movement because it seemed really obvious to me that there was going to be a potential issue with copyright. And it turns out that someone actually, besides me, pointed that out. And so there are a couple people who stopped using the Clippy thing because they're content creators and they don't want to get sued by the copyright holders of Clippy. Well, yes, I have heard of Louis Rossmann. I agree with most of what he talks about, like right to repair. Like, again, you will own nothing and you will be happy, right? It's like, no, we will own our shit, right? We will have right to repair. And if you don't like it, well, then we can figure out a way to vote you out of office, right?
Network Chuck came on my radar when I saw his video where he attempted, and thankfully succeeded, in sorting his wires on both of his server racks. Network Chuck likes to have a bit more of a family-friendly feel, including some of his family in his videos, and I do really enjoy the education value that he has with a lot of his work.
Thank you, Keanu.
He likes to teach people a lot about networking
I hope I can be excused considering all the bullshittery that happened earlier, right?
itself, and even offers different coding and networking classes for people interested in getting more into the scene. I'm probably planning to look into that myself.
Well, considering the internet, when the internet cut off, I dropped a particular word, right? I guess it means I don't have to cut that out on the recording because I wasn't fucking recording, right? Like the Penny Girl from Sky Bros, that is definitely the first one that came to mind. I'm pretty sure there are others, but yes. That is, Penny Bloomfield was one of the ones who predicted that if the left was going to be a bit of a bastard, which they will, they'll go after people by trying to get companies to copyright strike them. And it was like, yeah, I saw that coming from a mile away. But Kiddock says Network Chuck is perma espresso learning. Oh. Fair enough.
Considering the
I'm getting a lot of channels that I'm going to have to subscribe to because these actually sound like really good channels.
he has a lot of classes on things that I'm interested in. Now, there's probably a lot more individuals that I could include. However, those are the individuals that I'm most interested in shouting out for today.
It also has a thing where it's like you can't just suggest to someone 50 channels. Like if you had like a lot of channels that would also work for this, you can't just like shotgun them out because it would be too overwhelming for the majority of people to get into it because it's like you got to give someone like an actual starting point and then like let them go from there, right?
I'm pretty sure that if I do another video like this in the future, I'll show more individuals that I'm very interested in. However, my hope is with this video to inspire individuals to move forward and consider starting your very own home lab. Again, these kinds of things don't require big fancy racks like the one that even I have, and can be simple and chill. Just an old computer that's sitting on your desk, or
I'm aware that the joke could be made, but we shall not make the joke. But we all know what the joke is.
in that closet somewhere. The goal is to inspire individuals to not be so dependent on technology outside of the house. Technology that, as I said at the beginning of this video, is constantly on a degrading scale. My big worry is that one day we may have a situation where cloud services go down for a undetermined amount of time. And if they do we have everything that we need right near close to us so that we can survive off of them?
Absolutely not. Most people have no backup for if the cloud services go down. It's just point of fact, not actually the case, right? Not that, again, people in power actually imposing taxation on the people want the people to actually be able to have that backup in the first place, right? They kind of benefit from people being dependent on them. So it is a multi-pronged assault for the you will have nothing and you will be happy. So resist that with a passion. And again, as I've said before, it's easy to hate the rich, but are you brave enough to hate the poor? Because it turns out the rich and the poor cooperate in the immiseration of the productive class, to be perfectly honest.
I'm not trying to blackpill or scare people into doing this, but I do think that as an individual that prides himself in doing emergency preparedness, thanks to the Boy Scouts mostly, I want to impress upon people that you should prepare. Prepare for your technology to change on you with a moment's notice. Whether it's going down because they decided to let AI vibe code their backend, or perhaps you want to escape the tons of subscriptions that you have. Either way, it is definitely worth it to start something small and see where you want to end up. But that's got to do it for me.
Yeah, I mean, AI can be useful to help you code, but you still need that human being to actually do the coding, right?
If you enjoyed today's video, I know it's a little bit different from what I cover, please make sure to like, comment, favorite, and subscribe to the channel. Also consider hyping it so other individuals in the home labbing sphere can find it. I'm definitely interested in any feedback that people will offer. But
you heard it there, lads. If you have any feedback on home labbing that you think Mama Oko might need to know, given the content of the video, go let Mama Oko know, right? Chicken Tender says, yeah, Penny was smart for noticing that and pointing it out. I would definitely agree, right? Again, kind of stuck out like a sore thumb to me, but it was like, I could see again where it's like a lot of people would just not think about that. This copyright law, again, has done more harm than good for society.
That's about it for today. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in the next one.
So there is our first reaction to a Mama Oko video that I am going to have to scavenge from the VOD itself. Fucking hell, mate. Well, that's annoying, but at least I have something to work with, right? Oh, yeah. Oh, shit, wrong button. Fuck! Okay, well, hold on, I'm pretty sure it's here. I agree mostly with what she said on the, what he said on the off-guy thing. Oh, it's under the live. I do have to watch this at some point, right? Here we go. This Lego company stole a Lego collection featuring Elf Pyre Ava. At some point, I'm also gonna do a reaction to an Elf Pyre Ava video because her content is really good too, but it's a fundamentally different thing. So yeah, that was a on home labbing, right? If I can actually coordinate my mouse, right, instead of having a schizophrenic episode. So that was I started home labbing as a VTuber, and you should too. So if you like that and you haven't been watching Mama Oko, give her a like, or him a like. Damn, I keep referring to the character based off like the avatar, but like it is a he, not a she. Yeah, I generally like their content. I think that they're usually pretty good in like reporting on the things that they do. So there's that. Now, since we've had a little bit of time to accrue people. Hold on, let me actually record this before I forget, right? Hold on, let me do the F11. There we go. Okay. All right. Are you fucking kidding me? Okay, there we go. Now we're recording. That would have been really annoying. Okay, so now that we have an audience, I guess it's time to... I saw that Leaflet did this. I actually didn't watch Leaflet's video yet, because I kind of want to see what this test is, because I have a sneaking suspicion this is going to be like all of those internet tests where, again, it's like, I don't really know how to answer this question, and it seems really vague on purpose. Because that happens to be, again, very common in these political quizzes. So we'll see how well that does, right? Keel Nalo says, copyright used to just last the lifetime of the creator, I think, but lifetime plus 25 years was thanks to Disney. It's actually worse than you think, because copyright used to only last for like 25 years. And the whole purpose of that was that you couldn't just coast on a single invention that you made. So it's actually significantly worse than you think. Let's see. I did that test. I'm purely in the Chud category. Well, we shall see, right? Let's see. So let's read through this, right? What is Chud woke values? Chud woke values is a test that's kind of fucking stupid based. At the end of the quiz, your answers will be displayed on a compass. It is modeled off of the Sapley values test, which itself is modeled off the 8 values test. Interesting. A few questions are poorly written. Okay, well, that's fucking okay. We're off to a great start, right? There are 70 questions in the test. Why? Autism. Secondly, that's okay. Okay, you know what? Fuck it. Secondly, this is an attempt to put some kind of science behind a chart made with some friends and acquaintances. God damn it. Okay. Much to consider. Your questions / results suck. Suggestions for improvements are always welcome. Give us free suggestions here. Work in progress. Fucking hell, mate. Privacy notice. This site doesn't record any data. Legal notice. And then we have like fucking copyrights for 8 values, Sapley values, and then Chud woke values. Okay. Well, okay. So let's just get started, I guess, right? All right, let's see. The 70 questions, so this is going to be a bit longer than I expected, right? Very broad brush, right? Let's see. You will be presented with a series of statements. For each one, click the button with your opinion on it. Proceed shuffled, proceed unshuffled. Okay. Is this literally... Okay. So, question 1. Within my political movement, company, or social group, we should elevate voices from minority identity groups. I'm not an identitarian. I don't believe that your identity, quote unquote, it means a damn thing, to be perfectly honest. So I'm going to go with strongly disagree. Hold on. Hold on. Let me reread this. From my yeah, okay, so I'm gonna go with strongly disagree. Let's see, because like, what the fuck is a minority voice, right? Is like a left libertarian in a like setting filled with like in New Hampshire? No, fuck off, right? Let's see. Countries such as the U.S. and Australia should give a portion of land, particularly important sites and lands agreed in treaties, back to indigenous people. What? Okay. I am going to go with strongly disagree, just because this opens up the, I had a slider, not buttons, but okay, fair enough. I'm going to go with strongly disagree, because if we go to this, then this is just a foot in the door to expel the, the non-autochthonic from a region, and it's a dangerous, slippery slope. I am attending or have attended prestigious school, regular university, trade school. I did not / will not attend college. Unsure. Well, in this case, definitely wasn't prestigious. Men only. I had... Okay. Man bun, definitely don't have that. Shaved sides, short to medium top. No. So neither of these. Why should we give the land back? I mean, that is the $1 million question, right? Let's see. How many genders are there? Only 2. Genders should be abolished. No. It is immoral for a country to invade and or claim another land for resources. Okay, so if it's just for resources, right? Just for resources, I would strongly agree. There are some words or phrases people should be socially punished for using. Okay, so this is a little bit more complicated. I know what they mean here, so the actual answer to this question is strongly disagree. But this is what I'm saying about like it being this is what I'm saying about it being like poorly worded, right? Because I'll give you an example of something where it's like you should probably be strongly punished for those words and phrases, right? Like if you, not really phrases, but it's like like there are certain speech acts that should land you in hot water. Like if you falsely accuse someone of rape, then yeah, that should land you in hot water, right? But if you're just gonna drop the gamer word, absolutely not. That should not get you, unless you're gonna like append a threat to it, I guess. But just dropping the gamer word, it should not get you punished for using it. Let's see. Funny thing, I got a lot of man questions when I'm a woman. That's fair enough, right? Let's see. I put pronouns in my bio. Oh, I definitely didn't do that. Deportation is legitimate even if no other crime than overstaying a visa has been committed. I would go strongly agree on this one. To eat meat is morally wrong. I would strongly disagree on this one. Actually, with the meat one, again, considering how devastating the vegan fucking farm cultivation has been to the environment, quote unquote, it's actually probably more moral to eat meat than to go vegan, to be perfectly honest, if we're going to use consequentialist reasoning. Let's see. I prefer city, suburbs, countryside. I'm going to go with the suburbs. Wait. I mean, so it kind of depends, because I don't really give a shit about like where it is, so long as I'm in like a place that has castle doctrine and no duty to retreat, right? It's like I don't really mind if there's like if I have a bunch of neighbors or just no neighbors at all, so long as like I have the option, I have the right to defend my property with lethal force and the right to not retreat when threatened. What the fuck are these questions? Yeah, no, I kind of saw that this was, I kind of saw this coming from a mile away. Chicken Tender says, never mind, I think this is a different test. Looks pretty similar, though. This is the one that was linked in Leaflet's video. I haven't seen Leaflet's video. I clicked on it, grabbed the link, and then went to here. So, a lot of this is going to be contingent on how specifically you read and understand these questions, right? Let's see. Maybe it is, I'm not sure. Fair enough. Kionella says the one thing about the bio thing on some of the sites I'm on, it was automatic. That is fair. It's literally taking the choice away from the person using the site, right? Boo Huckley said animal and plant nutrients are too different from each other. What is this about? So never go to a Dem city. Oh yeah, definitely not. If I'm forbidden to, well, I mean, all the cities are Dems, right? So I'm gonna go with suburbs, right? Let's see. Transgender people are the gender they say they are. I would strongly disagree, because I don't think gender, which is an abstraction, is actually meaningfully distinguished from sex. You can say it is, right? But you could also say the form of a dog is completely independent of any concrete dog. You would be ridiculous for saying that, but yeah. So let's see. It's acceptable to make fun of someone based on their identity. Well, I mean, it kind of depends, right? I have a Jewish friend of mine who makes fun of the fact that I'm Hispanic all the time, and then I turn around and I like tell very potentially offensive jokes about the Hebrews to him, and we've never had a problem, right? Find yourself a friend who can actually take you being a little racist against them, right? Because that's how you know you're real friends, is if you can be racist to each other and y'all are actually having fun, right? So I would absolutely say I would say, yeah, in this case, it's definitely an agree, because like that's a good way to test whether or not someone is actually a good friend, right? Is whether or not you can actually make fun of each other for your what categories you're in, right? Like, so yeah, I would probably go with. And you know what? If someone is acting like a stereotype, I don't think it's all that. I don't think it's all that like. Bad to just point out that they're acting like the stereotype that they allegedly don't want to embody, right? It's like, if you're gonna act like stereotype X, why do I have to not call you stereotype X if you're living up to the exact stereotype, right? I've seen this happen before, especially with, like, again, my own group, because, you know, I'm Hispanic, and then, you know, you see some Hispanic people live up to the Hispanic stereotype, and it's like, no, why the fuck should I give a shit if someone's calling you X, Y, or Z if you're acting like X, Y, or Z, the stereotype, right? So, I don't know. That's just me. So, I'm gonna go with, yeah, it is okay. It's not necessarily advisable, but I would say that it is okay. Hold on. Let's see. Keanu says, I got my link from Lord Intellectual. It's why veganism is bad. That was Boo Huckley. And then Keanu again. These questions should be yes or no questions, then the agree/disagree spectrum. Yeah. The problem is that there's a lot open to interpretation for each of these questions, right? Fundamentally, our societies is sexist and patriarchal, and it is a bad thing. Now, what if I think sexist and patriarchal are good, actually? I'm kidding, right? Go full leaflet on this one, right? Do invasions even exist in capitalist worlds? Well, you're definitely not incentivized to invade anyone under a capitalist system. Turns out war costs a lot of money, right? Let's see. So, and is a bad thing. First of all, I would contest the sexist and patriarchal, right? It's one of the things where, like, I don't even think first wave feminism was a good thing, because I think first wave feminism is actually predicated on a lie, and one that had devastating consequences. Specifically, the idea that, like, women couldn't do certain things that, just objectively speaking, at the time they could, right? Like, for example, you'd have, like, modern people who don't know anything about history being like, oh yeah, women couldn't own property. It's like, actually, in a lot of these places, they could actually own property. They could even own property when being married, as, like, distinct from their husband's property. So it's like, again, just historically illiterate people making a lot of claims. But, yeah, so in this case, considering this is very clearly bent towards a feminist lens, I am going to go with strongly disagree, because I don't think, even on a foundational level, feminism makes sense. I'm a complementarian, right? So I believe that men and women are complementary to each other. They need each other, but they are not the same, and they are not equal in the way that, like, feminists want to portray. Let's see. I think it's particularly offensive for people to say slurs. I actually could not give a shit. I respect people's neo-pronoun. I do not. Let's see. A strong hierarchy is desirable in society. So it kind of depends, right? Because, like, every society, even an anarchist society, would have a hierarchy in it, right? So not to an extent of, like, authoritarianism, but I do think, like, again, a strong hierarchy is desirable, right? Like, again, the boss needs to lead the company, right? And the employee needs to follow the lead of the boss, especially if the boss knows what the fuck he's doing, right? Same thing. It's like, if your teacher, if your professor, right, is actually good at what they do and they're actually doing the right thing, they should be a strong educational leadership. So there's a hierarchy there, right? The student learns from the teacher, and this creates a stable foundation for society, right? The higher exists at service to the lower, right? And the lower serves the higher in mutual respect, right? So it's like, again, the employer serves the employee by telling them where to direct their efforts in order to actually make the money that they will end up being paid. And the employee serves the employer by actually being the extension of their arms and legs in enacting their will, so that they can actually make that profit, you know, that they will be getting. So there's, like, a mutual service and a properly functioning hierarchy. So I would say I would agree. Let's see. Keelnella says, I love Hispanic people. In my experience, 9 times out of 10, they're very nice and giving people. It depends. It depends on which Hispanic, because there's a lot of Hispanic groups, and some Hispanic groups are not like others, right? I am a little tired of being in Texas, where I have to play dodge the illegal on the road. Let's see. I have compared real-life political events to mainstream entertainment, such as Star Wars, anime, or Harry Potter. I mean, I've done it to historical events, but I've also done it to like Star Wars, anime, and Harry Potter. You have to use the tools at your disposal. But I understand what the question is actually asking, right? The question is actually asking, do I over rely on specifically these, fictional tales and like as if they represent the real? So while I have done that, what it's actually deriving at, I would disagree. So I would say agree because I have done it, but I don't necessarily think that this is as solid a knockdown comparison as a lot. It's like the people who are like, oh yeah, this is just like The Handmaid's Tale. And I was like, okay, so you read one book. Did you read any other book other than The Handmaid's Tale? Why, no, I have not. I was like, okay, I'm dealing with a retard here. I'm dealing with an absolute mong. I've had many conversations like that where it's like, it's not even a very well written book, and it makes more. It would make more sense if this was like about Iran, right, than it would the United States. But I digress. Vietnamese immigrants for the win, right? I mean, fair enough, right? Yeah. Them and Cubans, right? It's like, yes, we've survived communism, and therefore we hate communism. Like, I want more of these people. Right? If you hate communism, you're welcome, right? So, I mean, I have, so I'm just gonna hit agree. I like anime. Strongly agree. But what the fuck does this do with the choke woke thing? I'm gonna say this. I like anime to the point I don't even watch live action films. Right? I have very few live action movies. I don't watch live action movies. I grew up in a family of artists, so a cartoon, and I also watch Western cartoons, and I digress, right? But like a cartoon or an animation is literally a drawing come to life, right? So it's like, how could I not be fascinated by that when I literally grew up in a family of artists? Joe Dirty 555 is 1984 considered mainstream? It used to. It used to be mainstream reading, to be perfectly honest. And actually, that's a good fucking point now that you bring it up. Right? Oh my god. It actually is a good fucking point. But it used to be considered mainstream. Long says this is very Chinese. Possibly, right? I'm not entirely sure. It might make more sense of the quiz, but I couldn't comment on that myself because I don't really know how the quizzes work in China, to be perfectly honest. Boo Huckley says 95% of political speech are Harry Potter words. Mudbloods. Oh my god. Fuck. Keanu says, I can't read really old books. I'm too illiterate despite having college level reading comprehension. Well, I mean, it depends on the book. It's like there's certain texts are definitely what is it? Ergodic, which is like difficult by design. Let's see. Keanu says anime is chud. I'll take that. Long says after marriage, all financial planning falls under the woman's responsibility. Kind of based, not gonna lie. Robert Kinley says the third right and left extremists both love identitarian politics. I am very well aware of this. In fact, I actually probably should do a video about like how the identitarian is basically the same on the right and the left. But anyway, so I like anime. Let's go with that. I followed the health advice as masking recommendations during COVID. I did fucking not, actually. Before the COVID thing popped up, I actually bitched and moaned about how slow the FDA was. And then that shit popped out, that shit popped out so quickly. And I was like, I'm not exactly all that plussed about this. First of all, I'm being ordered to do something, and that doesn't exactly invite me cooperating with you. Second of all, why is this getting special treatment, right? So I'm going to go with strongly disagree. I actually do wear masks when I'm sick, right? Like that is a practice I actually do just personally because I don't want to necessarily like spread an infection. But it's like absolutely fucking not. I did not actually follow masking and health advice during COVID. In fact, I was actually trying to work during the fucking pandemic, and then they shut everything down, and I have been bitter ever since. Animals deserve certain universal rights. They do not. This is based on the technicality. Rights, right? Rights are a thing that are derived from the nature of man and the fact that man is a rational animal. And rights entail obligations, and animals do not have obligations because they are not rational animals. So, Kenok says, I like anime, strongly agree. Fair enough, right? Kionado says, I love Chinese animation. It's really pretty. I think I actually have White Snake on DVD, and I need to check out The Legend of Hay. That actually looks like a really pretty animation. Yeah, so strongly disagree on this one. It's a literal category error. See, the family is the most important unit in society. I would agree. In fact, I would agree with the medieval European who said that your loyalty to your family is actually higher than your loyalty to your king. So, yes, I would actually strongly agree with this. Men, let's see, I have, let's see. Woman friends, but only online. One woman friend in real life. Multiple women friends in real life. I have one woman friend in real life. Let's be perfectly honest, right? And she is absolutely based, to be perfectly honest. Black Puerto Rican woman. And oh my God, the shit she will just blurt out. And I'm like, damn. you really hate the Democrats, right? Oh my God. Calm down. But Joe Dirty 550 said, I told my boss I'd quit before getting the vaccine. Thankfully, my boss liked me enough. That's fair enough, right? As Boo Huckley said, fair enough, right? This is an impasse, right? So my hair is dyed. No, first of all, I'm too lazy to dye my hair. Second of all, I hate that blue hair got taken by the left. Save the blue hair from the left. Return it to just being an aesthetic choice that sane people could make. So no. Let's see. Borders and nation states should be abolished. No. I may have a strong affinity for anarcho-capitalism, and like I really do want culture to move in a way that anarcho-capitalism becomes actually viable, because let's be fair, no system works if the culture isn't actually set up for it, right? Monarchy didn't exactly work for a number of cultures, and it wouldn't work for certain cultures. And let's be fair, republicanism doesn't work for certain cultures. There is no universal human culture. So it is a thing that can happen. I actually have historical citations showing that the various claims of the anarcho-capitalist are actually true. But I understand that modern Americans could not live in that society. Right? I want the rest of the country to become like New Hampshire as much as I can. But, I digress. So since they're right here, I'm going to go with strongly disagree, because Ancapistan would need borders as well. Let's be perfectly honest. See, women only. Well, oh, you know what? Fuck it. Today I'm identifying as a woman. No kidding, right? I'm curious what this says, though. How much of the domestic labor, childcare, cooking, cleaning do you / would you do in a relationship? Why is it? Why you could have phrased this in a way that it would have been neutral to like how much should a woman do in a relationship. So again, this is a very poorly worded question, and since I'm not a woman, I'm just gonna click not a woman. Let's see. Oh, good. Hold on. Let's see. Kionala White Snake, love that one. I have it on DVD too. I recommend Moto Shuzi or something like that. I forgot how it's spelled. It's a good story. Fair enough. I wasn't a big fan of Neja. Like, I get what they were trying to do, but I just didn't care about it. Let's see. Robert Kinley said, the wanting seed in children of men were mainstream, now hated. Wanting seed in children of men. Okay. Buck Henley said the difference between cultures and cults are bad habits. Children of Men should be made to be read at high school in America. Yes, I would agree. Ken says, I personally picked most. Fair enough. Boo Huckley says, reduce all cultures into marketable plushies. Oh my god, we're doing Poland ball, but with marketable plushies, right? Oh my goodness, your culture is my costume, and I shall dance in it, right? Let's see. We should end programs that support diversity, equity, and inclusion from business and government. Yes, because diversity, equity, and inclusion is a Gramscian project, and it is subversive in the fact that it uses pleasant language for an ideological purpose. It is an absolute spook. I strongly agree. Anyone who is using this fucking bullshit strategy needs to absolutely be disassociated with. So, and it needs to be cut out of the government at all, everywhere. So I strongly agree. Parents should hold absolute power over their children as they are older and more... I would not say absolute power. Okay, Boo Huckley. I see your game. Anyway, so I would not say absolute power. We've already seen cases of, parents, for example, transing their children, essentially against their will. Very obviously against their will, right? So, but on the flip side, the parents also have the ability to protect their kids from making stupid surgical decisions. So, I would say strongly disagree. There are, obviously, the parents should have primary authority over the child, even more so than the state, unless the state actually has some real reason for the safety of the child, right? For the actual rights of the child, which would be life and, not being fucking mutilated. So, yeah, I would say agree, but not because they are older and more experienced. It would be more of a... because a child is not, it doesn't really have the rational faculties, right? They literally can't make these choices due to the straight up, developmental biology, per se. So I'd go with agree. Gender is a social construct, not a natural state of affairs. This is a spook of a question because gender is a complete abstraction. First of all, gender is not actually about male and female. Gender is a linguistic category. It is associated with male and female because in most European languages, the genders, or literally types, because that's what gender actually means, is usually male, female, and neuter. So it's associated with sex classification, right? If you do gender, for example, in African languages, it's usually based off of animacy, how alive a thing is, right? So this really is just this really is just again, the use of subversive language, right? So no, I don't think abstractions exist on their own. I don't think abstractions are real unless instantiated in a concrete. So no, gender is not a social construct. It is inextricably tied to sex, and any attempt to separate gender from sex is an act of mystification. So I would say strongly disagree. Okay, let's see. Hello, Libuv. I'm gonna struggle with that name. There are many people here, right? Hopefully, right? I'm trying, right? Hopefully I can get people here. Robert Kindley said, your culture is my costume. Blackface? Well, I'm not gonna stop you. Keanu says, it depends on if the mom is a left at beach. Yeah, fair enough. Robert Kindley says, I'm sorry, I am being bad boy. Fair enough. Let's see. I am waiting until marriage for sex. I would say strongly agree. You have to be responsible. Let's see. I like offending people and intentionally say provocative things. Okay, so it depends. It really does depend, right? Because I'm not trying to necessarily piss people off unless they kind of just deserve to be pissed off, right? But I did spend 6 months trolling one mark, and they were too dumb to realize that I was trolling them. And they could have just stopped the trolling by just walking away from the conversation, and I would have just dropped it. But no, stupid game, stupid prizes kind of deal, right? So I do like offending people on occasion, right? But not to a great extent. It's usually just I must only use this power to be annoying, right? To annoy. The old Bart Simpson quote, right? So I guess in that case, since usually I'm not actually bothering people, I'm gonna go with kind of neutral. Like, I like it when it's like funny, but outside of that, if it's not really a good joke, there's not really a reason to do it. Right? Oh my goodness. My marriage is a sham. It was the union of two families, and you know there was no actual love between the two. So it's like a medieval royal marriage, right? Kianella says you can be born female but have masculine tendencies, aka a tomboy, right? Femboys too, right? Let's not forget them. Hello, Captain Terror.png. Let's see. It is a state's right to enforce unity of culture and language. It's not the culture and the language thing, it's the property rights. But the property, if you enforce the property rights, you're almost certainly going to enforce the language and the culture, right? Because, again, it's the people there. So I would say agree, but not necessarily for the reason that this thing thinks. Robert Kinley says, man, strongly agree on provocative things, but I also have been there for your trolling. It's so strong to highbrow. Yeah, sometimes I do. Hello, Kubcon Queso. Thank you for the prime. Sometimes, yeah, I do a little bit of trolling sometimes. You know, I might as well put the song on that right after this, right? We do a little bit of trolling, right? But yeah, I'll put the song on right after this video. So let's see. Races are a scientific reality. Now, this is a little bit more complicated because, again, it depends on what you mean by the term. The way race is usually defined among race realists, no, I don't believe that. But that's because race realism is often a little bit more, again, a lot more clunky than just acknowledging regional variations exist. Obviously, regional variations exist, right? But the term of but the more effective and accurate term when we're talking about this stuff is lineage, right? If you look at, for example, anthropological work, especially under like the Nesher Ramla Homo, they don't use the term, for example, subspecies, because it actually isn't all that useful to describe human variations. Like Neanderthals and Denisovans, or, you know, Homo heidelbergensis or Homo rhodesiensis, it's not really all that useful to describe them as a subspecies, because the boundaries are extremely nebulous, and it does seem like any time human beings get together, they end up admixing. For example, it's like everyone outside of like sub-Saharan African populations seems to have a contingent of Neanderthal DNA, right? So there was a decent amount of admixture, it seems, between Neanderthals and, you know, anatomically modern humans. There were actually two anatomically modern human subvarieties. There was, say, the Sapiens variety and the Idaltu variety, if you're going to use the subspecies classification. That's neither here nor there. But, you know, even, again, when you went into closer to, like, the Middle East and then you go into Asia, you had admixture with the Denisovans. And you can see this, for example, in the Tibetan population, where, again, some of the genes that help them in mountain breathing seem to come from the Denisovans. You have stronger Denisovan admixture found in Melanesian and Australian Aboriginal populations. And Africans aren't exactly free of this either. There are, like, ghost populations. There's evidence of admixture with a ghost population that's unidentified for sub-Saharan Africans, right? We don't obviously have any genetic samples from any bones from archaic sub-Saharans, because it turns out African climate isn't exactly conducive to preserving genetic material. But given the time lapses that are estimated for this ghost population, it's almost certainly Homo heidelbergensis. There's that, right? And there is almost certainly some admixture that has happened that's not necessarily recorded with any Homo erectus overlap in these groups. So I think lineage is a significantly more effective way to describe this, especially considering how often admixture happens. So I would say I'm neutral on the claim because I think that it is confused in terms. Let's see. Identity groups such as race, gender, and disability are more significant divisions than economic class. What the fuck is this on about? Wait, what the fuck is this on about? Hold on. Identity groups such as, so we're talking identitarianism, as race, gender, and disability are more significant divisions than economic class. I mean, okay, so this almost sounds like it's leaning into the polylogism, right? So polylogism is the idea that there is like a fundamentally different way that different human groups think, and that thinking is not actually bridgeable, right? It's like the poors and the rich, right, can't really think in the same way. So there's that fundamental divide between the economic classes because they operate on ontologically different cognitive architectures. This is the reason why there's an economic divide in Marxian theory, by the way. And you can apply this to other areas, right? Like, for example, there is a implication of this in feminist theory that, like, again, there's a certain way that which women know that is not accessible to men by nature of them being in that class, right? So you can have like a sexual polylogism. Again, I don't really believe that, because you can actually get a woman who can actually, think and describe what she's going through. It's actually not that hard usually to figure out what's going on and to understand why it's going on. They have, again, racial polylogists. The Nazis are a good example. But if you're talking about racial polylogists, you also have critical race theory is a racial polylogist theory. So I'm not a polylogist. The disability probably is a larger divider than race, gender, or economic class, because like if you literally can't do something, that's literally you can't do it. But I don't really think any of these are a real like hard line division unless you pay too much attention to them, right? So I'm gonna have to go with a neutral because I reject the entire framing of this conversation in the first place. I don't think that classes actually exist. Okay, so I'm going to go here. Kubcon, I'm going to read the chat again. Kubcon Queso says, I tried this test. It is intentionally worded to make you feel a need to conform to the extremes. I definitely agree with that. Robert Kinley says, race, you say? Would a man from the Ivory Coast raised in Sweden be a man from the Ivory Coast of Sweden? No, but you don't need the ideology. You don't need the nested assumptions of race realism for that. You could also just be a lineage realist, right? And recognize that like a lot of these groups are themselves actually admixed, so there's not as hard a delineation among these groups as people like to think there is. Let's see. And again, there are no collectives. Like, collectives do not actually exist. Only individual entities exist. So collectives are simply an emergent property, an emergent behavioral pattern. They're not actually a thing in and of themselves. Kielnala says, it's kind of true. The poor gamble the rich. Well, they gamble in a different way. I mean, true, the poor, yeah, the poor, that's the thing I said earlier in the last video, right? It's like, it's easy to hate the rich, but are you brave enough to hate the poor, right? Because the poor and the rich fucking conspire to inshitify the entirety of society. And I don't think people really talk about that very often. Captain Terror says, I identify as a fucking retard. What does that mean for me economically? Yeah, fair enough, right? Okay, so if entertainment, media, or commercials have a certain identity makeup, whether that be a lack of diversity or forced diversity, that upsets me. Not okay, so I'm neutral on this because, like, if it's forced diversity, that just means I'm not going to use their material, right? But, like, if it's a lack of diversity, I also don't give a shit, right? Like, I don't think diversity in and of itself is a good or a bad thing. It is simply a tool, right? But it's like, obviously, not everything is made for everyone, right? I think this should be rather apparent to anyone who's ever had to deal with hair care, and you're going to notice that like different hair textures require different treatments, right? And extrapolate that the way you will, right? Interesting. Could you expand on your last explanation? It depends. You might, again, there is a delay between chat and the speaker, so you might have to tell me what specifically you want. Is it the lineage thing that we were talking about? Let's see, the pincer attack of the 1%ers. So yeah, I'm gonna go with neutral. Non-binary only. So not binary. There is racial inequality in society that disadvantages certain groups, and we should address it. There is racial inequality in society that disadvantages certain groups. It disadvantages, and as a brown, I can say this, or at least as a Schrodinger's brown, I can say this, right? I'm brown when I agree with the leftist, apparently, but I'm white if I agree with the right. It is the disadvantage, this racial inequality exists specifically to disadvantage the whites, right? So there is racial inequality in society, and it should be addressed. It should be addressed that it's not okay to be racist against white people. So, strongly agree. Identity makeup, is it the blackface commercial should be just fun. I would agree. Like, the whole point of a commercial is to inform you and keep you watching, right? So it has to be some degree of at least engaging. Yes, lineage. Again, because it goes back to the fact that, like, again, race is not really well defined, but you can actually give a very, very precise definition of the word lineage. And the reason race isn't that particularly well defined is because race is based mostly on vibes, to be perfectly honest. It's based on surface level considerations that when you actually examine on a more anthropological, like deep level, oftentimes they kind of disintegrate, right? Like, for example, there's the idea, and it depends on who you're talking to, right? It's like the idea that, like, the peoples of Europe are one people is just patently ridiculous. Right, even Pliny the Elder. So we're talking about all the way back in, like, the Roman Empire, right? And his catalog of human beings had 3 different groups, right? He had the Ethiopian, which is basically Africans, right? Like, whenever you see Ethiopia mentioned in Pliny the Younger or Elder, they're talking about Africa. But he also delineated the whites and the yellows being the blondes, by the way. So it was very clear that these people understood that the Germans and the Germanic peoples and the Mediterranean people are not the same, right? So, and actually a fucking, like a leaflet in her video with Based Camp, they were talking about, like, one of the lost traditions of racism in the West, and it was white against white racism, like the English and fucking and the Irish not getting along with each other, right? Because it turns out they are actually different people. They're not the same. And you can do this with all of these different groups. Like, even groups that are genetically related to each other, even small regional variations can result in noticeable changes depending on what specifically happened. Like, I'll give you an example. I'm Hispanic, right? My entire people come from the result of admixture. Admixture between, for example, Native Americans. I shouldn't use that word because Native American is a spook. American Indians and the Spanish, right? But also admixture between Arabs and the Spanish. There's another thing that we can't really get away from, right? Does this admixture create a new race? Right? That is a genuine question to have here. It's like, if we're going to go along this route, then would not admixture be the production of a new race and therefore the obliteration of old races? And should it therefore not be seen as an act of genocide if, again, we allow admixture? I think it's kind of a ridiculous statement, but it would be one that would be logically follow from the idea of, again, if we have these racial classifications instead of these lineage classifications, because lineages can split off, they can merge, and they still persist. Let's see. I hope that, I hope that explains it, right? Because, again, like, all modern human culture peoples result from admixture of some kind, right? Sub-Saharan Africans from anatomically modern humans admixing with Heidelbergensis. You have the Europeans, like, again, anatomically modern humans, Cro-Magnon, for example, admixing with Neanderthalensis. And then you have, like, the guys, like, again, that continuation still exists for the Neanderthal, even if they're like their own, like, type ceases to exist because they got absorbed into the anatomically modern population. But again, their genes were still passed on, right? There still is continuation from 40,000 years ago to today in their chain of descendants. Same thing again with the Australian Aboriginal, the Melanesian, and the Tibetan, who are descended from the admixture of anatomically modern humans and Denisovans. So, and we also will probably find admixture evidence with Nesher Ramla Homo. So, again, I think it's more easy to use lineage because instead of there being hard boundaries, it is a web of networks and relationships. Admixing? Tell me more. I see we have another one with the old Spanish dream of going to a foreign land and getting a foreign wife, right? Let's see. Chud woke values, 39 of 70. It's good when companies publicly support progressive social causes. I would say strongly disagree. My romantic partner is I'm single. Let's see. We should keep all sovereignty at the national level rather than granting power to organizations like the EU or UN. I would strongly agree. Death penalty should exist for certain crimes. Now, I am on the fence about the death penalty. I don't like the state has the death penalty, but that is not to say that there aren't good arguments for the death penalty. This is more of a prudential discussion than anything else, right? Is it prudential that the state has the authority to enact capital punishment? And also there's the question of, well, if you kill a man, you very well end his temporal punishment. And you're banking on the idea that there is an eternal punishment. And that's a pretty big risk to bank, because even if there is a temporal punishment, I can tell you right now, if there is a God, a lot of people that you think are in hell, you're probably going to see in heaven. And a lot of people you think are in heaven, you're probably going to see in hell, right? Because you can't know the state of a man's soul when he dies, or how he's going to respond to God when he actually, encounters him. Especially in the Catholic tradition, you find that this is a very common thing, right? When the saints in the sacred tradition, encounter God and they get to see a glimpse of heaven and hell, oftentimes it's like, oh, I didn't expect to see them there. Or it's like, oh, I didn't expect to see them there either, right? So you're banking on the idea that, like, if this person gets executed, they're going to have that eternal punishment. It was like, if they commit an act of perfect contrition, well, they're right with God, then that I don't imagine that you're going to get that eternal punishment. And if you, again, kill a man, well, his temporal punishment ceases in the first place, right? So you're banking on a pretty big metaphysical assumption there if you're doing that. Hold on. Oh, God, the chat is running. Fucking Captain Terror. I fucking love brown women. Conquistador for certain, right? Boo Huckley says, if times are tough, most people want infinite punishment. Yeah, that's true, but we don't exactly get that. Like, that's not something that's up to us. That's more of a reality gets to make that decision kind of thing. Kionalo says, if there is no afterlife, then at least they won't hurt more people. That is true, but at the same time, if there is no afterlife, there's also no more punishment. Which is the whole purpose of life in prison, right? Is punishment across a person's entire lifetime. But again, I get the counter argument. We definitely, especially in the United States right now, where you have these activist judges just letting people go to hurt more people. I understand that. In a sane and productive society, you wouldn't need the death penalty, because you wouldn't have these retard judges, just letting people who commit murder, back on the street. Again, a lot of this is culture dependent. Is your culture set up in a way that it's actually doable? In the way the United States is right now, where its judicial system is subverted from the inside, there is a good argument that maybe the death penalty is entirely warranted as a way to get ready, to deal with some of these people. But in a stable society, where again we're not having these subversive dickheads letting killers back on the street, we wouldn't need the death penalty. So it really is. The death penalty is wrong, but mob justice is a thing. That is also true. The death penalty is only wrong because the state should not have the right to kill you if you have been neutralized. I would generally agree with that, but the problem is that the state doesn't really involve itself in neutralizing certain threats. So I would say neutral, because it depends on the context of the society. Okay. Neopronouns or xenogenders aren't legitimate. I would strongly agree. The thing with neopronouns and xenogenders is that, again, they are complete abstractions disconnected from any concrete reality, right? There is nothing in the concrete reality you can point to that would define what a neopronoun is or a xenogender in a way that's actually conceivable consistently. And so it's just a complete abstraction. Instead of living in the real concrete, they're attempting to escape that. So I would agree, these are not legitimate. We shouldn't expose children to gay or transgender people until they're older. I would say this is highly contingent, right? I mean, obviously, don't expose them to people who have the agenda, right? Obviously, if they're working under a queer theoretic agenda, do not at all expose your children to this stuff. But to be perfectly honest, it's like if there's a happenstance situation where, like, again, you encounter someone just randomly, they're like, okay, yeah, fair enough. If it's like a family friend and like they're actually trustworthy and they're like not a fucking weirdo, then yeah, sure, I don't really see the problem with that. A lot of this can be mitigated with just talk to your kids, to just like raise your damn kids, right? There is a social contagion element to this. Yes, I get that, right? But again, a lot of this is just actually like raise your kids. Stop letting the fucking state raise your kids. So I don't really think that there's any kind of like, again, it depends on how you define this word, right? Because depending on who you ask, you will get two wildly different definitions of what this means, right? So it's like, because some people will define this as effectively just same-sex attracted, right? And then some will define this as like living a homosexual lifestyle. So again, a large contingent also depends on how do you define this word and how do you define this word. Because again, you ask two different people on two different sides of the conversation, they'll give you two very different answers. So I would generally agree, yes, children below the puberty don't need to know about sex, but we're not necessarily talking about sex per se, right? Because for example, I think this one is more of an issue for children than this one, to be perfectly honest. I do think we can acknowledge that as far as like children who don't understand how the world works because their cognitive faculties have not functionally developed correctly, to an extent to deal with these questions. There's also a gradation of like, again, what you should and should not be exposed to. I would say that it's probably going to be easier for a child to understand, this. It was like, oh yeah, you don't have to tell them like, yeah, you know what, he raw dogs the neighbor, right? You don't you don't need to tell them that, right? That obviously, even in a situation where you would actually encounter someone like this, you don't have to tell them that, right? There is a much easier way to explain this, and then also explain your own family values of like, again, we don't do that because we believe that, man and woman are complements, right? That they need each other, and that man and woman were designed for each other or evolved for each other, right? So this is outside of the way that men and women and men and men or women and women relate to each other in the best way for their own good, right? There is actually a way to actually, again, explain observation if they were to encounter this in the real world. There's also a way to, again, explain in a actually, whether you're, again, secular or Christian, explain this as well. Should you go around trying to expose them to this? No, but recognizing that people will sometimes just pop up in your life and you do have to talk to your kids about this. I mean, yeah, just happenstance doesn't have any moral context behind it. So I would say that I would agree we should not expose them to this material because it can confuse them. But I would also recognize that, like, again, if it happenstance happens, that's not really any moral content behind it, right? So let's see. The language on this is so pretentiously vague, I'm not gonna lie. Yeah, again, that's why I'm like, I don't really like how some of these questions are made, right? But I would agree with Kionello that, again, like, it's easy to confuse children because their rational faculties aren't fully developed. And so, yes, in general, they should not be made aware of some of these things because, again, it can actually confuse them. And then it's just more work trying to, again, explain how reality works to children if you give them confusing information for them, out the gate. Let's see. Online harassment or cancellation is a serious issue. This is probably going to be the most online take, but I actually agree. Because the thing with online harassment and cancellation is these can actually have serious real-world consequences to your employment, right? A lot of times these people will contact your employer. That is still part of the online harassment. Or they will, for example, dox you, right? The entire point of doxing, which is a form of online harassment, is the hopes that some fucking whack job is gonna like be crazy enough to do something that you want happening to them that you yourself don't want to do. So it's a form of stochastic terrorism. So I would actually say yes, it is actually a serious issue. I actually think, again, but I think it's a serious issue because of the effect that it can have on real world like things. Again, online harassment can lead you to getting doxxed, like what happened with Chibi Reviews. It can lead to someone, again, trying to putting illegal material on your accounts after you get hacked, which is, again, a thing that happened to Chibi Reviews. It's all online harassment until someone, puts child abuse material on your account after they hack your account, which, again, is exactly what happened to Chibi Reviews. So online harassment may just sound like, it's just Twitter stuff. Twitter stuff can become really serious real fucking quickly. So I would say, yeah, I would actually agree. It is a real serious issue, but this is why we need a parallel economy, to be perfectly honest. Men only. How much of the domestic labor, childcare, cooking, cleaning do you do or would you do in a relationship? It depends on what the situation is, right? Like, for example, if I'm a stay-at-home husband, which I wouldn't plan on doing, by the way, then I would say like almost all of it because I'm the one staying at home, right? If me and the wife are both working a full-time job, then yeah, sure. Half would be a fair thing to do, right? Because we're both actually working, an actual full-time job. If I'm out and I'm actually like doing the job, then the wife is home, then like I would probably say I would definitely be a little annoyed if I'd had to do half the chores, right? Poor Chibi taking so many strays. Chibi's not taking strays. I'm just telling you exactly what happened. Like, people hated the man, and then for online beefs, and then they made those online beefs real world beefs. They doxed his brother's grave so someone could go and piss on it, and they, other people could desecrate it, right? They literally weaponized his love of a man who died, right? His brother against him. So it's like, again, online harassment is actually a thing that could have real world consequences. So as far as this goes, this is not even related to the question. What the fuck is this? Hold on. How much does the domestic labor, childcare, cooking, cleaning do you or would you do in a relationship? I don't plan on having children. Only one of those is the issue. You still have to consider cooking and cleaning. What, if you don't have any children, you're not going to have to deal with cooking and cleaning? What the fuck is this question? Oh my god. Well, considering that I would actually intend to keep working if I was married, I would probably say, a bit, right? Or half or more. I'm going to go with half or more because in this economy, you're probably going to have to, your wife is probably going to have to work as well. Non-binary only. I'm not non-binary. Family should be abolished. Absolutely fucking not. So strongly disagree with that. Get that communist bullshit out of here. Let's see. It is acceptable to make fun of someone based on their appearance. Yeah, I can agree. If someone's being a cunt, you can absolutely, like, make fun of their appearance. I am publicly out as LGBT. Well, I don't think I'm gay. Ask some other people and they might disagree with that, but you know, online discourse and whatnot. So I'm going to go with strongly disagree. Robert Kinley says, not okay for the state to raise your kid, but okay for them to end them government overreach. Either way, brother. So men should hold a position of power over women in society. I am tempted to say repeal the 19th, but that's also because I don't believe in universal suffrage. I think universal suffrage in general was a mistake. I think there's a large contingent of men who shouldn't have a vote in society either, to be perfectly honest. And in fact, actually, I don't believe in democracy in the first place. I believe democracy is a god that failed. So, Cosmic Coselic, eh? Oh my god. Ultra gay. I gotta find that meme you and me discussed that one time. Just, you know, the one with Aristotle and Socrates debating the one tag, right? Because that would actually be really fucking funny, especially the way that, if I remember correctly, Diogenes was used in that meme. It's just I don't know where to find it. Let's see. Men should I? Oh yeah, hold on. Well, the thing is, historically speaking, women actually didn't mind men holding power in society, right? In fact, actually, most women in first-wave feminism didn't want first-wave feminism to actually succeed because they were like, wait, if we actually get the right to vote, that means that we have to sign up for the draft. Because that's actually how the voting principle worked, right? Like, you needed a stake in the society. And they didn't want that kind of responsibility in the first place, right? Because the house divided on itself is Cosmic is confusing because of his avatar, right? That's entirely fair. When Kershaw, Shu, and Leaflet say repeal the 19th, but the thing is again, it's not the fact that women can vote that's the problem. It's the fact that the majority of people in any group can vote, right? And voting itself is an illegitimate system in the first place, but I digress, right? But it's like, I would rather someone like Anscombe or Ayn Rand be able to vote than, for example, some of my family members who are men, to be perfectly honest. Those two women would have way better voting track records than a lot of the male family members I have. But at the same time, you could say that with like any actually like reasonable person who's actually thought their worldview out and isn't just acting out in spiteful defiance of reality like a communist, right? So, on its face, I actually don't like democracy. But at the same time, it's mostly because mob rule is an illegitimate system. What the fuck was going on with my mouse? Let's see. Robert Kinley said voting rights should be determined by a game of dice in a back alley. Yet women never got the draft. Yeah, it's because fundamentally speaking, men don't like to watch women die. It is kind of just that simple, right? They got the right to vote, but men don't like watching women die. So the idea of sending them to war is uniquely disturbing to the mind of the man. Now, I grew up in the era of Live Leak, so I literally grew up in a time period where you could watch people die online, right? From natural causes and like camera feed and all that stuff. So it doesn't really bother me as much as it bothers some people, but like, I still don't necessarily want to see women get drafted either. I'd rather just see them lose their voting rights than have to go get drafted. But then again, I'd like to see a lot of people lose their voting rights because it's like, it doesn't seem to be in society's favor to play this game of, again, you have 5 wolves voting, 5 wolves and 2 sheeps. Guess who's going to win that voting booth, right? Oh, wait, yeah, okay. Actually, on to the question, right? Okay, so I would generally agree, mostly because while there are some women that would definitely be actually fairly decent in positions of authority, it would be in specific places of authority that would complement their nature, right? So I would go with agree, because I don't think it's an absolute thing. And I do think that there are certain areas where women would naturally have more authority than men in their own respective areas. But I do think in terms of like political power, it definitely should be more male dominated. No one is illegal on stolen land is retarded. This is from the people. So there's no illegal on stolen land, right? Oh my god. Yeah. I hate these people with a passion, right? So I would say strongly disagree. The presence of another culture is no threat to my own. I would disagree. Because like you can have multiple cultures live side by side with each other, but first of all, it might require authoritarian rule in order to keep everyone playing nice, first of all, right? Think about like Singapore, right? That would be an example of like, oh yeah, we got like 5 different cultural groups living side by side with each other, but the iron fist of the state enforces peace, right? I mean, yeah, fair enough, right? But also it's like, I mean, it kind of depends. Like certain cultures that are more like towards harmony and like their concern could exist side by side with each other because they would actually be able to, again, interface with each other on a shared value basis and potentially learn how to actually interact with each other. You could have a society like that, but it would have, again, it would be a very specific set of circumstances. I don't think you're really going to get in any pragmatic sense in like reality. It's theoretically possible. I don't think it's actually going to happen anytime soon. So I would say I would disagree. I am fine with police and government forces using violence against unarmed civilians. What does this mean? Again, this is one of the, again, another question where it's like, I don't really, like, I get what it's saying, but, like, if the police are going to arrest an unarmed civilian, they are using force, right? And if the unarmed civilian resists arrest, violence is the only way that you're going to actually be able to get them to comply, right? Even nonviolent self-defense can be made into, which is a system of martial arts that was taught to nurses for a time to like restrain patients and like not hurt the patient. You know, you're still using force to restrain the target, right? And I think people forget like you could still be killed in a fist fight, right? So it's not as if like just because they're unarmed doesn't mean they're not harmless. It doesn't mean they're harmless, right? God damn it! Oh no, I said it twice. Let's see. Captain Terror of the second dimension. I see that you did there. The good old Chinese steel mills. MMM Toasty. Let's see. Boo Huckley. Harnessing the powers of woke and chud, becoming a moral chimera. Let's see. Robert Kinley says, it's been proven that platoon moral goes way down if a girl Marine goes down in service. All male platoons is where it's at. I mean, yeah, obviously, right? Again, men don't like watching women die. Let's see. Boo Huckley says, she said, I'm not saying that again because you're going to take a shot. Let's see. Robert Kinley says, Vietnamese immigrants for the win again. Don't encourage it, Kinnock. Let's see. Define unarmed. Yeah, exactly, right? We saw what happened with the Nugget, right? Man had no arms, and yet he still committed murder. Oh, that was such an interesting Kirsche stream. Let's see. Kionalo says, any culture other than Middle East is an okay culture? Yeah, I would highly contest that. I would highly contest that. As someone who's studied cultural anthropology, the Middle East is not the only place you don't necessarily want an influx of people from. The Adolo culture had the horrifying practice of having prepubescent boys commit fellatio on older tribal men because they believed that that's how you would get the vital spirit required to develop into a full-fledged man. I don't necessarily think I want that culture in my anywhere near my my state, to be perfectly honest. So it's like, yeah, nah, there's other ones I could think of where it's like, nah, we're good. They can stay way the hell over there. Right? Let's see. Fine. Oh yeah, so we were talking about this. So this depends, right? Because like this is the thing here. Unarmed. They didn't say that they're not themselves violent, right? If someone is using violence, you have absolutely the right to use violence in response to that, right? Let's see, encouraged by playing along. God damn it. Yeah. Anyway. So as far as this goes, I have seen enough police body cam to know that sometimes the police will absolutely get physical with a suspect and then say that the suspect was resisting arrest. But I've also seen enough police body cam to know that sometimes the suspect actually is trying to be violent with the officer, and they are actually resisting arrest. Oh yeah, no, I have a lot of horrifying anthropology details tucked in the back of my brain. So I would say I am okay with this because, again, just because you're unarmed does not necessarily mean you are not dangerous. Women only. God damn it, not a woman. Okay, let's see. I support doing land acknowledgements. I strongly disagree. No, I don't like the moral fagging, to be perfectly honest. Many of the colonized benefit from colonialism. This is objectively fucking true. This is actually objectively fucking true. Many of the people who were colonized actually did benefit from colonialization. The technological improvements, many practices were stopped. For example, sati comes to mind in India. The practice of throwing a widow on the funeral pyre of her husband was stopped by the British, right? I think that's a objectively good thing to have happened, right? Any place that Christianity, for example, since it's the colonial religion apparently, any place Christianity became the dominant religion, it turns out they put a stop to pederasty for the most part, because a lot of cultures actually did tolerate pederasty. And it was Christianity that brought a stop to that. And in fact, any place Islam fucking takes root, pederasty seems to come back into vogue. So, I would absolutely say that many of the colonized absolutely benefited from colonialism. Think about, for example, the Inuit, for example, any of the people who speak Algonquin languages outside of like Greenlandic. They received the concept of writing from the colonizers. It was a Methodist missionary who invented the writing system that the Blackfoot, the Cree, the Inuit all used to write their own culture. And the reason he invented that was to give them the Bible in their own language and to give them a way to write down their own oral traditions to better preserve them, right? So, and again, the thing with the hello, Arunya. Sorry, I got caught on a bit of a rant, right? But the absolutely the case that many of the people who were colonized actually did benefit from colonialization. And here's the thing: not all colonial projects are equal. Not all of them are the same. It's the same thing we're talking about. Like, a man is not equal to himself 2 days of the same week. Right? Not all colonial projects are equal to each other, and not all colonial projects are equal under the same under different people in charge of the thing. Right? So different kings obviously ruled over their colonies differently. Some were better, some were worse. Right? So it is more complicated than colonialism bad. Right? Even from the position of the leftist who doesn't actually dislike violence, they just want violence to be used in their way. But anyway, so I digress. Sorry. An unarmed with fully loaded truck, or unarmed with a ruck, or unarmed with a 150-pound difference. That's exactly my point, Robert Kinley. That is exactly my point. Like, if you're in a different weight class and you actually outweigh the officer by weight class, that's a real fucking dangerous situation. Again, a rock, first murder, right? In history was a rock. Again, fully loaded truck. I'm saying, if I thought you were going to run me over with a car, I'd probably shoot your ass too, right? Oh my God! Someone tried to jump down my throat because I pointed that out with the Renee Good shooting, and I was like, I'm just saying, if I was the officer and if I got hit by a car, I don't know that my brain would decelerate from danger response fast enough to not shoot. Right? I'm just saying, right? You hit me with a fucking car. Okay, so I'm gonna go with I definitely agree with this. I don't know if I strongly agree. Well, no, you know what? Many of them actually did severely benefit. I'm gonna go with strongly agree. It's acceptable to make fun of generalized groups. Yeah, I would agree. I would definitely agree. Again, anyone who's in a multi-ethnic friend group does this. We all fucking know about this. Or unless they're a bunch of leftists, in which case, are they really friends with each other? So I would go with agree. I read contemporary philosophers. I reluctantly read contemporary philosophers. So, excuse me. So I would agree. I've read William Lane Craig. I've read fucking all of these communist bastards like Karl Marx. You know. So like, yeah, fair enough. Right. I've read a wide range of contemporaries. So I would go with strongly agree. I am. I'm gonna go with actively religious. My country or people should apologize for crimes or wrongdoings our ancestors have committed. I strongly disagree, because you're not fucking responsible for things you didn't do. It's that fucking simple. We need to get to the point where it's like where people can acknowledge, oh yeah, that was a bad thing that happened, but it's not my fucking problem, right? the point where the Turks may actually have the right answer. It's like where the German is like, I'm sorry, my ancestors committed these crimes, and the Japanese is like, our ancestors never committed these crimes. These are lies and slander. The Turk might actually have the right answer of war crimes, right? That is a thing we did, right? Oh my god. No, there is no fucking transitive property of sin from the parent to child. So, strongly disagree. Homosexuality is against my values. I would agree. Yeah. Like, I'm not going to dog on someone for being homosexual, but at the same time, it's like, I would say it is against my values, because my values would be like pronatalism. I want people to actually have children. You know, I want more people to. I want the meme of the West is saved. Billions will be born, right? Like, because again, I think most people would be much better off if they actually had a family, right? So, and even a lot of this, like, there's the thought that popped up in, funny enough, a Based Camp video, which I had heard about before they talked about it. The idea that, like, should gay men marry lesbians, right? Would that actually be better off for them? And there's actually surprising research that suggests that actually might not be as bad a situation as people think it is. But, you know, I digress. So I would say, yes, it is against my values, but I'm also not gonna harangue and harass anyone for it. So I'm gonna go with agree. Let's see, not a woman. Okay, let's see. Kianala says they've never been hit by a car before. I've been hit by a 4x4 so I'm on the cop side. Yeah, fair enough. I've been hit by a car on a couple of occasions, so it's like, yeah, again, if I was in that officer's position, I would have absolutely fucking responded in kind. Let's see. Captain Terror says, we bully normies, we bully each other, we bully the tards. Based and true. Secret Squirrel says, oh, are we doing that test? Yes. Let's see. Robert Kenley says, I was law enforcement and had to stand in trial to explain how a 120-pound woman officer had the right to shoot a dude when 3 of them circled her and each one was 200 pounds each. That is... Okay. That's kind of... It's sad that you would have to explain that, to be perfectly honest. Let's see. I celebrate or strongly support Pride Month. I strongly disagree. I actually have memes in the chamber to be a little bit annoying when Pride Month kicks off. So I'm going to go with strongly disagree, but not necessarily for the reason most people think. The reason I strongly disagree is because Pride Month is a holy month. There is an underlying metaphysical and ontological presupposition behind the mainstream LGBT ideology. Because it's not just a culture, there is an underlying pseudo-religion undergirding the entire thing, right? And Pride Month is their holy month. and I don't particularly support that religion or that, ideology. So, yeah, again, I don't support the holy month of it. It's kind of like where I don't support Ramadan, right? I don't support Islam. I am actually very critical of Islam. So, I'm not going to support Ramadan. I'm not going to be annoying if you celebrate Ramadan. I'm not going to be annoying if you celebrate Pride Month. I'm not going to celebrate Pride Month, and I might just meme about it, to be perfectly honest. So I would strongly agree with this. I support reparations for slavery and our colonialism. No, get the fuck over it. Telling somebody to kill themselves crosses a line. I would. Okay, so if you're just fucking around, right? It's like, if you're just fucking around and everyone knows you're just fucking around, then no, right? Because this is like Call of Duty, like COD lobby, banter, right? No one actually wants anyone on the other side to fucking kill themselves, right? But like, if you're being serious and you're just like seriously telling someone to kill themselves, I would say that actually crosses a line. So I would strongly agree with that. Whatever else you think of him, Donald Trump should be recognized as a very funny man. I would strongly agree. People should be treated equally regardless of race, gender, or creed. I would disagree because I don't think people in the same group should be treated equally, to be perfectly honest. Again, a man is not equal to himself on 2 different days of the same week, right? A man should not be treated as equal to himself on 2 different days of the same week, right? You should treat a man on with respect to how he is conducting himself, right? So it's like, if someone is being a bit of a cunt, you should treat him like a bit of a cunt, to be perfectly honest, right? So I am going to go with I'm going to go with disagree, but again, it's not the race, gender, or creed thing. It's just straight up, I don't think people should be treated as if they're interchangeable units, because they're not, right? You wouldn't treat your mother the same way you treat your father, right? It's that fucking simple. You wouldn't treat your older brother the same as your younger brother. This shouldn't be that hard to explain. So, I would say disagree. People describe me as judgmental, abrasive. Ironically enough, most people don't actually describe me as either of these, which is kind of funny because I can be very judgmental and I can be very abrasive, but I'm not usually described as that based on the way I conduct myself. Okay, so before we finish this, let me catch back up with the chat. Let's see. Kionala says, as a pedestrian, it was not fun. Yeah, no, getting hit with a car is definitely not fun. Pride is why I hate my birth month nowadays. Well, to be fair, Kionala, it is also Men's Mental Health Month, and it is the month for the Sacred Heart of Jesus. So there is counter dedication to that month as well. So and again, memes in the chamber, right? I gotta be annoying. So Kianala says, when I was a kid, was because I couldn't celebrate it in school. That's fair. Muhuckley says, there are only 3 religions and they all come from the desert. God damn it. Well, I mean, they don't all come from the desert, but a lot of these religions seem to start somewhere between Judea and like Nepal. It's kind of interesting. It's kind of interesting how those were the ones that kind of just went all over the map, right? Let's see. Abortion should be illegal in all circumstances. Need I remind everyone, I wrote a literal 11-minute song about the evil of abortion. So, it depends on what they mean by this, because I know some people in the pro-abortion community will kind of finagle the definition of abortion to include things like an ectopic pregnancy, when it's like, no, even then you don't have to kill the child yourself. You obviously can't save the child, but you also don't have to let the mother die. You can go in, you can snip out the section of the tube where the child is at, and then remove the child and allow the child to die a death that's dignified. You don't have to go in there and crush the fucking child with forceps, right? So if we're going to talk about abortion as in the act of intentionally going in to kill the child instead of just removing the child from the womb because we can't save both the child and the mother, then yes, all abortion should be illegal in all circumstances. I don't give the rape or incest or medical defect like a caveat, because again, it's still a human life. It doesn't matter how it came into being. It is still a human life. It still has human dignity. And it is against the dignity of man, whether it be the child or the person committing the murder, to go in and to kill an innocent human being. It is counter to the dignity of the human species. So again, strongly disagree that should be legal in all circumstances. So yeah, strongly disagree that it should be legal in all circumstances. I don't think it should be acceptable in any elective circumstance. I think you should actually have a legitimate medical emergency of, we cannot save both the mother and the child. And even then, you don't go in there and rip the child apart or go in there and stick a needle in its heart and fill it with poison. No, you do a actual removal of the child, and then you let the child, if you can't save them, die, of the natural causes. Or if it is possible to give them medical attention, you give the child medical attention, because the child and the mother are both your patients. So, not to go off on that fucking tangent, right? I saw. I realized it. So it should be legal in all circumstances. I strongly disagree. Again, I am about as abolitionist as you can get in there. This is actually kind of an interesting placement I did not expect. This is an interesting situation I did not expect. Let's see. What kind of man are you, though? What are you, a man or a mouse? The fucking horse, right? Okay, so apparently this is where I rank on the woke Chud spectrum. Significantly closer to Chud, which, by the way, I'm still not on the damn woke Chud list. Right? There's a list of VTubers and their woke Chud placement, and I'm still not on that damn list. I even filled out the form. But anyway. Maybe now that my Twitch actually has content recorded on it, maybe I can actually resubmit the paperwork, right? But so I've seen post-birth abortion and it's heartbreaking. Yeah, I've seen sonogram. I've seen not sonograms, ultrasounds of an abortion in practice, and yeah, it's pretty evil, right? I've seen videos from the Middle East of abortions where it's like it's pretty bad. You got further than I did in the test. That's fair. So it turns out it turns out I might be Chud. Who would have guessed, right? Who would have fucking guessed? Purple woke. I'm colorblind. That's my excuse, right? So hint: you can download this image directly. No need to screenshot. Fair enough. But I'm just gonna leave this here for right now. So that'll be the end of the woke Chud question, right? So or at least in response to this video, right? So oh, wait a minute. Hold on. Speaking of the whole thing with the woke Chud thing, actually, before I end this video, hold on, because I promised to show the shit post, right? We were talking about like poking the bear and pissing people off, right? So I might as well put my latest shit post. Well, not shit post in like a silly thing, but shit post is in like, I'm definitely poking the green bear with this one. I made one song poking at the red bear, right? But the Red Green Alliance has two different people, so I have one poking the green bear, and I'm gonna highlight this one because this one is the one that's gonna get me in trouble. If anything's gonna get me in trouble, so let me know what y'all think about it.
From the black stone I rise, Hubal wearing Yahweh's eye. Highway. borrow the flame. I crown every grave and call it grace. I am Khairul Makirina, best of plotters, master of lies. Wa makara, Allahu Khairul Makirina. I twist the Torah, I mock the angel, I deny the cross they nailed. It appeared, so to them the greatest lie unveiled. Jibril, my beautiful lie, wearing Dia's handsome face. Tragic meetings, jealous wife, terror in the cave of Hira. I wear the name, I borrow the flame. I crown every grave and call it grace. I drink through the grave, I harvest the slave. I turn every blade toward a conquered fate. Squeeze tighter, I cry, or I'll possess you forever.
These are the exalted cranes, their intercession is hoped for.
Then I blame the devil, convenient my prophet restored.
Uswa Hasana.
9 years old in Bukhari's chain, I shed tears, yet my verses rush to satisfy his endless appetite. Thy Lord hastens to please thy desire, she cried into the night. I bend the sky for his lust to slaves, his endless appetite. Wise being with the dribble, Hunna right hands possess their flesh. Shadow al-Bariya, worst of creatures burn. Jizya and Yadin waham saghirun, pay or be humbled, learn. Man baddala dinahu fakhtuluhu, apostates bleed on command. I wear the name, I borrow the flame. I crown every grave and call it grace. I drink to the brave, I harvest the slave. I turn every blade toward a conquered fate. Dar al-Islam, Dar al-Harb, the world is mine to devour. Taqiyya and Kitman lie in my name hour after hour. Even Abu Bakr wept. I fear the deception of Allah. One foot in paradise, still trembling at my final plot. Borrowed time is running out, the lion stirs, hear the thunder in the east. Lalanda in flames, temples in ruin, pyramids of skulls for my delight. I promise gardens past the slaughter, I promise crowns beyond the grave. Now every mask begins to flicker, every idol starts to break. I was the thunder wearing heaven, now all my banners fade. The Lion of Judah approaches Aslan with claws of fire. Just a false god trembles, my borrowed throne is a pyre. Jibril the demon screams as the true Gabriel goes near. Hubal unmasked, Allah exposed, the deceiver disappears. No more name, no borrowed flame, no crown grace, disguised as grace. The lion comes, the mask is torn, the game is done.
Wallahu Khairul Makirina.
But the lion has come,
The mask is torn.
the game is done. Wamakara, Allahu Khairul Makirina.
All right, so hopefully y'all enjoyed that, right? Like, again, that one was actually meant as ruffling some feathers, right? Because if that doesn't get a fatwa on my head, fucking nothing will, right? Because I called out so many fucking problems in such a short span of time. Pasta thinks that this song's gonna get me fucking assassinated, and I'm like, well, you know, if there was a way to die, writing a banger would definitely be among those ways, right? All right, so that'll be the end of this episode today. If you're watching on YouTube, I'll see you in the next video. All right, so it's getting fairly late for me, and I have someplace to be in the morning. So I'm gonna look for someone to raid, and I'll put the raid in the chat. So if you're on YouTube or Kick, you can join. Let's see. Hopefully y'all enjoyed that, because I personally did like writing that. And to Kionella, there is actually the English lyrics for the English translation of the Arabic is actually in the what would you call it, the subtitles. If you go here, subtitles, you'll see there's 2 of them. If you go to English United States, it actually has the translations like again, like right here, where it's like this section translates to an excellent pattern, because it's referring to Muhammad as the as the perfect pattern of conduct which Islam teaches. Boo Huckley says, when's the golden age of apostasy? Honestly, there's probably 2 of them. There's the apostasy wars, which happened right after Muhammad died, and a number of people were like, oh, thank God he's dead, we can finally leave this fucking religion. And then the rightly guided caliphs, quote unquote, were like, oh, hold the fuck on, no you don't, you're committed to this shit. And also there's the golden age, you could say now is a golden age of apostasy, considering how many people in the Muslim world are secretly leaving Islam, right? Okay, let's see. Okay, so Rana's been on for like 4 hours. Okay, let's see. X Count has been on for like 2 hours. Let's see. Leaflet has been on for 2 hours. I would really love to be able to get Nux or like Nux to fucking react to this song. I have a sneaking suspicion he'd lose his shit. But I have no idea how to put that in his ear, to be perfectly honest. Okay, we're gonna go to the X count, because Texan must support Texan, right? Fuck, where did he go? I lost the X counts thing. Shit, where is it? I'm having a different kind of stuff. Okay, here we go. All right, I'm gonna send y'all to the X count. Y'all have a lovely day, and oh my God, he's watching a fucking AI video. Griffin Knight is on the channel. Okay, let me start the raid, and I will put the link in the chat, so if anyone is on YouTube or Kick, y'all can follow. So that will be it for today. Y'all have a lovely day, and I will see you next time I see you. Oh, I will definitely rest well.